Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How are you guys doing? It has been a hot minute here since the last time we did an episode of the Clair Minimum Battles series, so I figured I would get to work on rectifying that today by coming back with 9 new challengers in this one. We're coming in with the entire Gastly line. We've got the Hypno, the Kingler, the Exeggutor, we've got the entire Cubone line, and we've got Steelix in this one. And we're going to see how many can actually manage to get through Clair. Now, obviously, this is starting to feel like a bit of a formality, just getting through Clair so that we can get these Pokemon to the league, where I think things are actually going to start to kick off and actually start to eliminate some Pokemon again. But for now, we do have to at least test these Pokemon in this section. You'll notice a few little changes to the overlay here. I have added stars just like what that RSC Pokemon Challenges guy is doing on his Minimum Battle series, just so that we can more clearly see what are the member picks versus what are non-member picks. And especially I'm using that so that I can put them down into today's challengers. That will help me prevent the case where I forget a particular member pick and don't do it in the video, which has happened a couple times. So today we will absolutely be getting Gastly and Cubone in on the action. Anyway, with that though, I think we just dive into this. My early predictions are that we're basically getting everything through. If I recall correctly, we have given Cubone access to the Thick Club, and as long as it has that, I think it's just a matter of maybe getting a little bit of luck in the right spots in order to win. Clair will obviously be hard for a first stage slow ground type, but it's not necessarily going to be impossible. We'll just have to see. Steelix is another kind of interesting one in this episode, in the fact that it doesn't have great special defense, but it is bulkier than Onix, and with a member pick, we did manage to get Onix through this section already, so I feel a little more confident in that Pokemon as well, but we'll just have to see how it goes. For now though, I'm going to lead off with Gengar. Let's see how our ghosts do here. I think this is just going to be super easy given the coverage of Gengar. Then we'll step down to our Haunter and finally do our member pick Gastly and just see how they actually work out. Let's get into it and find out. So picking up with our Gengar first, we are coming in at level 35 to start this with Fire Punch, Nightmare, Hypnosis, and Curse. I think this is basically all we need. We might swap out the Fire Punch for something else like Ice Punch, but that's really it. That's all we might need to do in this entire section. I'm pretty sure we're just going to destroy the Rocket storyline, so I'm going to make my way straight to Goldenrod and just see how this goes. And sure enough, with no issues, we make it to the Marowak man. So let's just see if we can beat him on the first attempt, because he can't go boom on us, and it's not like his poison type moves are going to do anything to a Gengar, but let's just see how it actually works out. First up against the Coughing, I'm going to go for Fire Punch, and it is a one-hit KO on that Pokemon. That means that only the Wheezing has a potential to even survive a hit from us, so I'm just going to Fire Punch these Coughings down. When we get to the Wheezing, it's probably a 2-hitter. Sure enough, we get a critical hit, so we just knock it out in 1, and that will allow us to sweep through the rest of the team. No issues here in this fight as we completely destroy the Marowak man on the first attempt and get to level 39. Plus, we've leveled up to learn the move Dream Eater. Now, Dream Eater is a great move because it heals us in battle and it's psychic type. It can't affect dark type Pokemon, but that might not be a massive issue for us because we could always go Curse and Nightmare strats to get through those Pokemon. So for now, I'm actually going to forget Fire Punch in order to learn Dream Eater. Since Fire Punch is relearnable, the rest of my moves technically aren't. So let's just see how this actually goes. We're gonna have to put things to sleep in order to damage them, but it all just kind of synergizes together with the Hypnosis. It might be a little bit YOLO. We'll just have to see how it actually works out here. But with that, we will make our way down into the basement to fight against the rival. I mean, he does have a Sneasel. We are going to have to go for the Curse and Nightmare strats there, but it's probably okay. Let's just see how it actually works out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, he leads off with the Golbat. I'm going to put it to sleep, and then I'm just simply going to Dream Eater here and get the one-hit KO. That's perfectly fine. Sneasel comes out next. We're going to have to stick with the Hypnosis here. I'm going to Nightmare this Pokemon. Of course, he immediately wakes up, which is not what I wanted to see. Still, if we can get it to stay asleep long enough, we can go for Curse as well to double up on the damage here. Dream Eater obviously has no effect, but we will take that Pokemon down. Out next comes Feraligatr. We're on very low health. We miss the Hypnosis and we lose. We're going to have to try this again. Obviously, against that, Sneasel is where this one's going to be random. That's where the Fire Punch would have been useful, but I'm just not sure if I want to get rid of any of my other moves. So that's why I'm going for this strategy instead. We're probably better off just trying to take out the Sneasel with the Nightmare, which isn't necessarily going to be perfectly consistent by any means, but if it stays asleep enough turns, it will eventually go down. It turns out to take 5 turns here because it just doesn't have an amount of HP that is divisible by 4. So we actually lose that second attempt due to that fact. We're going to have to try this one yet again. Still, if we can get through Sneasel, then we can heal up on other Pokemon on the team. So that's really what I'm banking on. And if I do in fact manage to get it asleep and nightmared, that's the point where I will go for the curse as well. So I get it down on the 5th attempt here. We're back to Feraligatr. We put it to sleep this time. Now we can just go Dream Eater in order to heal. It's going to take 2 hits from this move, but that's perfectly fine as we just knock it out. That brings out the Magnemite. We're going for Hypnosis. It hits Thunder Wave on me. Now we get Thunder Shocked as well, and we're just not managing to put it to sleep. But once we do, I think even Dream Eater will do decent enough damage here. It does, so we're able to basically heal up off of that. That brings us to level 40 as the final Haunter comes out. It goes Curse. We are fully paralyzed this turn. We get hit by the Shadow Ball and we cannot move, so we lose. If we just get it to sleep and land a Dream Eater, I'm pretty sure we win on that one. On the next attempt, we are back to the Magnemite though, so we can try to put it to sleep again. This time it goes to sleep turn 1. We Dream Eater, dealing massive damage, and we're going to get through on full health to the final Haunter with no status. I put it to sleep, and now this time Dream Eater should do the job. Sure enough, it does. So we beat the rival. It took a few attempts there, but it's mostly because I'm going for this really YOLO strat right now. We'll probably forget either Curse or Nightmare at some point, I have to guess. But for now, this is the strategy that I'm going to run with, and I think it will be just fine in the end. And with that done, we have nothing to do except get to the final Rocket Executive. We will have a couple more Dark types to deal with here, but I don't think they're going to be a massive issue. And really, I'm keeping this set for later on. I think there are some spots where this sort of trolley set could actually be really OP. We're just going to have to see how it actually works out. And without any further issues, we make it to Wannabe Giovanni at the end. He does have 2 Dark types, so technically he's going to be a hard fight here, but let's see how he actually goes. Of course, he leads off with Houndour. We're just going to go for Hypnosis here. We miss and he bites me. So that was kind of bad. That's not what I really wanted to see here. I'm pretty sure that he's going to give us his 2 Dark types first and save the Coughing for last. I could be wrong, obviously, but I want to try to hopefully take this Houndour down with just the Nightmare. He goes Faint Attack right there, which is really bad for me. That means that I can't go for any Curse in this fight, probably. Sure enough, he sends out Houndoom second. We miss the Hypnosis and we lose. So my moveset decisions are definitely coming back to bite me here, but you know, we're still going to reset and try this one again. If we can get a good range on the first Houndour where we manage to take it down on full health, then we could theoretically have a run where we actually can go for Curse on the Houndoom. We're not going to get it this time as well, unfortunately, but we will get 2 Houndoom on this attempt, only to once again miss with the Hypnosis and lose. So this time we get through to the Houndoom on green health. We miss Hypnosis. We survive a bite. We put it to sleep. Now we get the Nightmare on, but we need it to stay asleep for a ridiculous number of turns here to go down from Nightmare damage, because this is another 5-turn KO due to the fact that it doesn't have HP that's exactly divisible by 4. It wakes up and knocks me out just before it goes down. So of course, if I want to make this more consistent, I could give up on Nightmare at this point. Ice Punch makes a lot of sense, just given the fact that we will want to use it in the next fight. So while it's not super strong, just the fact that we can put our opponents to sleep and then Ice Punch them down with our pretty high special attack here, I think does make a lot of sense. We could also throw on Thunder Punch just to have that move. So yeah, I think I'll go Thunder Punch for this fight. We'll throw an Ice Punch for the next fight. I think that's how it will go. And I'm just going to forget Nightmare at this point because it's a little too inconsistent. Coming back again with Thunder Punch on the moveset. If we Thunder Punch the Houndour, we just one-shot that Pokemon. Houndoom comes out next, and this is a one-shot with a crit, and that brings out the Coughing. Probably we're fine to just go for the Thunder Punch here, but I'm going to put it to sleep in Dream Eater because I can, and we managed to win on that attempt, getting to level 44. So I wanted to cheese with the Nightmare Curse strats as long as I could, but at this point I feel like the Nightmare just isn't really holding its weight. I think we're much better going for this strategy here, and we're just going to have to see how we do against Clair now. I'm going to basically forget the Thunder Punch for Ice Punch, which I think is the correct play. It should make that fight super trivial, and then we're just going to have to see how we do against the rival coming up after that. But I think for the rival, we'll simply go with the Fire Punch, and that will be the solution to that fight. Still, we'll have to test it and see, but I'm ready to make my way to Clair's gym, and we're just going to find out if this is enough or not. Keep in mind when we get to Haunter coming up next that it doesn't learn all the elemental punches though, at least if my memory serves. So we should be in a much tougher situation with that Pokemon. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how we go against all these dark types in this section with the less evolved form. Here, it's really just a matter of whether or not you want to use the TM, not having the options that you need. So take that for what you will. Now, of course, we make it to Clair with no issues in her gym once we throw Ice Punch onto the moveset. The real question is just Kingdra. I think that's the point where we try to put it to sleep, maybe Curse, and go for Dream Eater just to recover HP. Ice Punch should take out the 3 Dragonairs in one hit, I think, but let's just see how it goes. So Clair attempt number 1 on the first Dragonair, I just Ice Punch. That's an easy one-hit KO victory. Second Dragonair comes out, Ice Punch again destroys it. The third Dragonair, of course, is going to be a one-hitter at this point, and that brings out Kingdra. Here I'm going to go for Hypnosis. It manages to hit. Let's see what Dream Eater does. It does almost all the damage with a critical hit, and with her staying asleep, she's going to Hyper Potion there. That doesn't really matter to me too much. I'm going to Curse right here as she uses her full heal, and then maybe even Ice Punch finishes it. Sure enough, it does. So just like that, we get through Clair on the first attempt. She was completely trivial. She's going to claim hacks because of the fact that we completely knew what she was going to do. You know, after playing this fight enough times, you know she's going for the full heal there, so you just kind of time it out and know that you can go for Curse on that turn. So take that for what you will. Of course, we're ready to move on to the old guys down here, where we're ready to tell them the legend of this Gengar and what we're about to do to Lance once we actually reach him. I'm just saying, he should be quaking in fear at this point, because a Gengar with Ice Punch and Thunder Punch is going to be more than enough for his team. I see no way that he survives if we can just manage to get to that final battle against Lancey Boy. I think we take down the league with this one. I think we're going to go into the league with a lot of elemental punches with Gengar, and of course go Shadow Ball against good old Willy Boy, but that should be all that we need to completely destroy the league with this Pokemon. I think this is one that's just a not just contender but favorite going into the league as a Pokemon that should be able to destroy basically everything. Maybe Karen throws a wrench in that plan. Still, before we can worry about any of that, we've got to go take on Rival 5 so we can stand on the steps of the league with this one, and it's going to be not necessarily an easy fight, but I think we just throw on Fire Punch and that's the solution. Let's see how it actually works out. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, he leads off with Sneasel. Of course, I'm just going to Fire Punch this Pokemon, completely destroying it. Out comes Golbat next. This is where we go Hypnosis and then into Dream Eater, and we get the one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Magneton comes out next. We can Fire Punch it and completely destroy it. That's going to bring out Haunter. Hypnosis, it stays asleep. We can Dream Eater, getting the one-hit KO on that. We get to level 47 as Kadabra comes out. Kadabra's only Psychic-type damage-dealing move is Future Sight, so we're not really scared of that. I'm just going to Fire Punch here. It's not a one-hitter, but it is a two-hitter as it just uses Future Sight on that turn. We have the Feraligatr out. We put it to sleep. We can get hit by Future Sight here. It does not that much damage. Dream Eater is going to do over half, and as it stays asleep, we simply defeat the rival on the first attempt. So as long as you have Fire Punch, he's actually not that hard. It's just not having Fire Punch that makes him a little bit difficult, but still not too bad at the end of the day. And here, as we get ready to go into the league, our Gengar, I think, is perfectly fine in this entire section. Like I said, I think we just come in with a ton of elemental punches to swap in that second slot. We can throw on Shadow Ball specifically for the next fight against Willy Boy. But after that, it's just about figuring out which elemental punch is the best against each individual opponent. And then when we finally get to Lance at the end, that's where we might forget Curse in order to go for the Thunder Punch, Ice Punch combo, keeping Dream Eater. Of course, we could forget Dream Eater at that point because Dream Eater is a TM in Kanto as well. We could get it as soon as we get over there. So no matter how we look at it, we have a lot of flexibility as we go into the league. I think we're going to have some pretty good opportunities. We're just going to have to see how it actually works out, but we'll test that in the next section, starting with Willy Boy. For now, with Gengar getting through, it is time to check in on our Haunter and see how that Pokemon goes in this section. So coming in with Haunter, we are again at level 35. We're just weaker than we were previously with that Gengar. We were running Shadow Ball, Curse, Nightmare, and Hypnosis. We had to go Shadow Ball because we don't have the same coverage that we had with our evolved form. We do have access to Return if we really need it, and we could get things like Thunder if we need it from the game corner, but ultimately we have no ice type moves to use against Clair. So this is going to be a little bit harder. We're going to be stuck with Shadow Ball. We can't get rid of that move. We might replace Nightmare with the Dream Eater. Curse, we'll just have to think about if we're running into a major wall. We might have to replace Curse with something like Return in this section. I'm honestly not sure. We're just going to have to test a lot of things out to see. In fact, it might be worth it to throw on something like Return right away just because of the fact that we don't have anything currently that can hit a normal type Pokemon, and there are certain normal types as we go through the Rocket storyline. It's more for speed than anything else. Currently, I don't have the Return TM in the bag, so I might give a Thief instead just because it's immediately available. It's dark type, so it will work in those situations, and it's not like the normal types can damage us, so this might be worth it. I'm just going to go ahead and learn this move over Nightmare for now. Let's see how this goes for us in this section. Now, of course, with that, we do manage to make it to the first part of the radio tower to fight the Marlboro Man without any major issues, so we're just going to have to see how he goes with the Shadow Ball strategies. He does have higher defense. We don't have great attack, so it does make sense that he'll probably survive, but then again, can he really damage us? So I think this is going to be perfectly fine, but let's just see how it goes. So round one against the Marlboro Man, let's see what Shadow Ball does against the Coughing. It does a little more than half. We only take 5 damage from Sludge though, so we can easily knock that Pokemon out. Obviously, we can't be poisoned as a poison type, so we can just sit here and spam the Shadow Ball and knock out these Coughings without too much difficulty. Really, accuracy drops are the only thing we'd be worried about here. We get to the Wheezing with no issues. It looks like this Pokemon is a 3-hit KO, and that's no issue for us. We can now just sit here and spam the rest of our Shadow Balls, knocking out the rest of the Coughings, and we're going to win this fight 100% of the time, it seems, because it doesn't look like he wants to go Smokescreen against us. So we simply win, get to level 39, we can learn Dream Eater. I'm going to forget Curse to learn Dream Eater. I'm going to keep Thief. That way I'll at least have 3 different types for damage, just in case it's ever relevant. And let's just see how this goes as we move forward into the basement and the rival number 4 battle. Keeping in mind, we don't have any really super effective moves against the biggest threats here, so Hypnosis is going to be important. Dream Eater could be important in order to heal us in certain spots. We're just going to have to see how this actually works out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1 right here. He leads off with Golbat. This is where I'm going to try to use Hypnosis and then go for Dream Eater once he's asleep. I do get the 1-hit KO there, so that's perfectly fine. Sneasel comes out next. I think we have to Hypnosis this Pokemon due to our type weakness, and then Shadow Ball is technically our strongest move here, so we'll go ahead and use that. It looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO. He wakes up and tries to screech at me. Fortunately, it misses and we put him back to sleep. We can go for our Shadow Balls, and we're going to get the 3-hit KO there, knocking that Pokemon out. With that, we get Feraligatr out next. Against this Pokemon, we still have to worry about Bite, so I am going to try to put it to sleep. We missed twice. 2 bites do massive damage, but now we can go for Dream Eater to recover some HP. We do about half with the first Dream Eater and knock it out with the second, getting most of our HP back. Magnemite comes out. I'm just going to try to Shadow Ball this one. It does slightly less than half. It misses Thunder Wave, so I'm going to put it to sleep now. Let's see what the Dream Eater does. It does a little bit more because we do have a higher special attack stat, and with that we managed to get through that Pokemon no issues. We'll just Shadow Ball the final Haunter and get the easy victory. So we actually beat the rival on the first attempt this time because we're not trying to mess around with those Curse and Nightmare strats on the Sneasel, and with that we're ready to move on to the end of this section. And once again, without any issues, we do make it to Mr. Meet Your Doom at the top of the radio tower, where we actually have some damage dealing moves that aren't very effective against his two dark types. We're gonna have to see how this goes. Let's get into it. So first up, he leads off with Houndour, and I'm not sure if Shadow Ball's gonna be enough here. Let's test it and see. Sure enough, it's a 2-hit KO here. He does massive damage with Feint Attack. That brings out Houndoom second. We're gonna have to put it to sleep. Feint Attack completely destroys me. That's our first reset in this section with this Haunter. Coming back again, now that I know that Houndour is a 2-hit KO, I'm gonna try to put it to sleep with Hypnosis. I missed the first one, hit the second one, and I'm just hoping to knock it out from here. Back to Houndoom, we need to put it to sleep. We miss, and he knocks me out again. No, he doesn't. He just barely misses the KO, but we still get knocked out on the next turn when we miss 2 Hypnosises in a row. Still, this is just going to come down to actually landing the Hypnosis. Once we do, we should be able to get the victory here. It's just going to take a few resets here because of the inaccuracy of Hypnosis as a move. Attempt number 5, we finally get Houndoom to sleep, and it looks like a 3-hit KO from here with the Shadow Ball. Still, we are getting the victory right there. The final coughing, I think even Shadow Ball is enough. It just goes haze. Good job. That allows us to get the victory and get to level 44, and we're ready to move on. Wannabe Giovanni did put up a pretty reasonable fight there in that one, but now I think we're going to be pretty okay against most of the opponents inside of Claire's gym, so it's just about Claire herself. She shouldn't be impossible to beat with this one, and then we're just going to have to make our way to rival number 5, who could be reasonably tough. We're just going to have to see how he goes. Now, as we make our way to this fight against Claire, one thing that I can say is that we did not one-shot against the Dragonair just before Claire, and we don't have any options for super effective moves here, so we're just going to have to go with what we've got. I think we have to put the Dragonairs to sleep and try to knock them out from there. Dream Eater is probably our stronger play at that point because of our much higher special attack stat. We'll just have to see, but let's test this out with the Paralyzed Cure Berry, so at least if we miss one time and get paralyzed, we can still recover and maybe have a chance. Claire attempt number 1, we're going to put the first Dragonair to sleep. Let's go Dream Eater right here, and this is going to be a 2-hitter. Even with Dream Eater, the opponent wakes up, but we can just knock it out from there. Next Dragonair, we miss, and she misses with her Thunder Wave. Unfortunately, we miss again, and she does manage to paralyze us after that. Of course, Dream Eater does allow us to recover HP, so once we get them asleep, we can just recover our HP and then knock them out with the Shadow Ball or something. Dragon Breath isn't doing that much to us here. So we do manage to get to Kingdra on this first attempt. It goes Smokescreen against me. I still hit the Hypnosis. I'm going Dream Eater because it's my strongest move effectively. Unfortunately, we missed both Dream Eaters, and now Surf looks like a 2-hitter on me and simply takes me down. That was pretty bad luck from one Smokescreen to miss both of my Dream Eaters. Not much I can do there. We're just gonna have to try again. Now, of course, we can also get the 2-hit KO with Shadow Ball here, so both moves are effectively just fine. It's just once we get paralyzed where we definitely want to use Dream Eater because we're likely to have some damage. Still, we managed to get through on full health to Kingdra this time without paralysis in the second attempt only. We put it to sleep. Now I can go Dream Eater this time. Seeing that we do slightly less than half, I'll go Shadow Ball after that. It also does slightly less than half. She Hyper Potions right there. We're just going to keep Shadow Balling her as she goes for the full heal, but because she uses the Hyper Potion and full heal, we can just knock her out from there, getting the victory on the second attempt. So not too bad. It was a little hacky to have to put everything to sleep and then knock them out, but hey, it works in the end. And now we can go see these old guys and tell them that Haunter is also coming for Lance at the end of the game. And there's not a whole lot that Lance can do about it, but we're not going to have these super OP moves, so we're just going to have to see how it actually works when we get there. Nightmare. I have to believe that Lance will be beatable with this Pokemon just because of our speed, but we'll have to see how it actually works out in the end. Still, with that done, it is time to go take on our rival, and let's just see how we do against rival number 5, since, yet again, there aren't really a whole lot of super effective moves for us in this fight. We're just gonna have to see if it works easily or if we run into a wall somewhere. Rival 5 is going to lead off with his Sneasel, of course. I'm going to put this one to sleep and then go for the Shadow Balls, just hoping to knock it out without too many feint attacks. We do slightly less than half. Then he goes Fury Cutter against me. That's perfectly fine. So we still have decent health as we get through that Pokemon. Golbat comes out next. We miss the Hypnosis and get confused here. Now it's going Bite. We have to land. We didn't, so we lose the first attempt. Let's try this one again. Here, Sneasel once again decides to go Fury Cutter rather than Feint Attack, which is perfectly fine by me. So once again, we're 2 Golbat on green health. It goes Bite this time as we miss our first Hypnosis, miss our second Hypnosis, miss the third one, but finally land the fourth one. And now we can Dream Eater and one-shot that Pokemon, getting a bunch of HP back. Magneton comes out next. We put it to sleep. I'm going Dream Eater because I need HP back, and it does about half. That's just a 2-hit KO. We're back to full health here. As the Haunter comes out, I'm just going to Shadow Ball right there and destroy it. We get to level 47 as Kadabra comes out. Shadow Ball destroys that Pokemon as well. And now the Feraligatr, it doesn't know Bite anymore, so it's only going to affect us with Water Gun. I'm just going to spam the Shadow Ball here. I don't think Water Gun's strong enough, and sure enough, we're going to take it down on the second attempt. So really, it's not that bad. It's just about actually landing a Hypnosis on that Golbat. After that, I feel like we have pretty good matchups against everything. I mean, Magneton we also needed to sleep on, but it's not the end of the world to just reset for Hypnosis to land on those 2 Pokemon, and then we pretty much have something for everything else. So in the end, I feel like that wasn't too bad. The fact that the rival is going for Fury Cutter against a Haunter is kind of questionable to me, given the 4 times resistance to the move, but I guess he thinks that's best strategy. I don't know. Maybe there's something in the AI where it thinks that it should go for Fury Cutter even when it's resisted, just because it can build up so much. I'm not sure, but hey, he gave us the victory. We're ready to move on to Willy Boy. Haunter with the Shadow Ball in that first slot, I think is going to just completely destroy Willy Boy, but we'll see how that goes. We should have all the moves that we need for Koga and for Bruno as well. So it's really Karen that is the main question for this one in the league. And I think our speed is going to be the deciding factor. The fact that we can always outspeed and reset for Hypnosis to actually connect is probably what we need. Plus the fact that we can Dream Eater on some of her Pokemon, the Gengar and the Vileplume, they are going to give us the opportunity to heal if we really need it. I think gives us the advantage, but we'll just have to see how it goes in that next section. For now, Haunter's through. Let's look at our member pick Gastly and see how it goes. Since it's basically rocking similar moves, I'm gonna have to see what we actually taught that Pokemon, because it might have something like Thunder already that will help a lot in some spots. We'll just have to see. So with that, it is time for channel member TheProgramedKnight coming in with GhastWave here. At level 35, we knew Curse, Nightmare, Hypnosis, and Dream Eater. So we already have Dream Eater on the moveset. I think this is one where it's going to make a lot of sense to once again learn the move Shadow Ball as one of our main attacks. If we struggle in this section, I might even throw on Thunderbolt since it is a member pick Pokemon, or throw on the move Psychic just to give us something that has immediate damage output. But I think Thunderbolt is better in a lot of spots. Giga Drain could also be a reasonable strategy, so we might go for that. Again, those are things that I will look at as a member pick Pokemon because I do think they would make a lot of sense on this one. We'll just have to see how this actually works out for us. For now, I think Shadow Ball is the best play for us immediately, and I'm also going to add on the move Thunder, which is legally available at this point from the Game Corner. I think I've pointed out in some of my videos that at this point you can actually legitimately get one Game Corner TM, so I'm just going to throw that on over the Nightmare. I'm going to give up on those kind of cheesy strats and instead go for more damage output. I think this is the way to go to make this one not take a small eternity at this point. It's not that it would be impossible to get through with other moves. I'm just saying that it's probably not worth the time investment to do it. That's my logic anyway. You can yell at me in the comments for these decisions. For now, let's go ahead and clear out the rocket hideout, with Thunder being our faster way to knock things out. I think this is going to be the way to go. Let's see how it works. Sure enough, without any issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man. I'm going to see if I can manage to knock him out with Thunder here. So far, I've been finding that Shadow Ball is not enough to like one-shot anything. We're probably getting much worse ranges against the Gastlys here, so I think Thunder is the solution. But let's see how it goes. So Thunder on the first coughing does one-shot that Pokemon, so as long as it hits, we'll one-shot the coughings, and that should give us a pretty good setup against the Wheezing when we get there. Against Wheezing, this is where I will go for Hypnosis, trying to put it to sleep. Sludge doesn't do that much damage, and obviously Dream Eater is our strongest move against that Pokemon. I think it was probably going to be a two-hitter no matter what we do, but now for the remaining coughings, I'm going to try to Thunder them down, even though the move's not super accurate. As long as it does hit, it's one-hit KOs all the way, and we managed to get through and get to level 39. And now, because Gastly is a first stage Pokemon, obviously it learns moves earlier than the rest of its evolutionary line. That's one of the benefits to doing some of these solo runs with these unevolved forms. And in this case, the fact that we already have Dream Eater basically means that between Thunder and Dream Eater, we should have enough coverage to get through the Rival's team. But let's just see how he actually works out here with Rival number 4. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm just going to try to Thunder on the first Golbat. It hits, and it is a one-hit KO, of course. That brings out the Sneasel. I think we just stick with the same Thunder here. It's a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon, but we do manage to land both and knock it out. Feraligatr comes out. We hit Thunder, just one-shotting that Pokemon. Magnemite comes out next. This is where I'm going to try to use Hypnosis. It goes Thunder Shock and gets Paralysis on me, which is terrible, and I don't manage to move, so I lose the first attempt. We're gonna have to try this one again. Now that I know that Thunder is not a one-hitter on Sneasel, I will try to put this Pokemon to sleep and then go Thunder after that. Once it's on low health, Shadow Ball should finish it off. In this case, with less than full HP, I'm even going to try to put Feraligatr to sleep and recover here with Dream Eater. It looks like a 3-hit KO on that Pokemon, and it immediately wakes up, so we lose the second attempt. Still, I think we've got reasonable chances to win this one. Next attempt, the Feraligatr does stay asleep, so I get to recover a lot of HP there. That brings out the Magnemite. We get it to sleep this time. So this time I'm going to use Dream Eater again to recover some HP. It stays asleep. We can Shadow Ball it down from there. And as we get to level 40, the Haunter can't do anything against the Shadow Ball. We get the easy victory once we get to that last Pokemon. So just like that, we have managed to defeat Rival number 4 in 3 attempts. So we're ready to move on to the end of this section. We have Thunder for the Houndour and Houndoom, so I think we're going to be doing better at the end of this than we were doing with the previous evolutions of this Pokemon, just completely due to the fact that we have this one strong move. And sure enough, without any issues, the TheProgramedKnight has made it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. Thunder should be enough here. Let's see how it goes. First up on the Houndour, I'm just going Thunder, and that is a one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Houndoom is probably a two-hitter. I'm going to try Hypnosis here. It does go to sleep. We missed the first Thunder. We hit the second one. We can see this is going to be a two-hit KO. Bite does massive damage. Let's see if Shadow Ball ends it. It does, so we take that Pokemon down. We've made it to the final coughing. I'm going Thunder, and we win on the first attempt, getting to level 44. Even though we were on red HP, we still managed to survive one hit from the Houndoom. That was enough. Now we can move on. It's time to go see how we do against Clair. Now, the one good thing against Clair is that Thunder is neutrally effective against her Kingdra if we need to go for that kind of YOLO strat, hoping to maybe get some paralysis. Though Hypnosis plus the Dream Eater and or Shadow Ball is probably better. We'll just have to see. And I think Shadow Ball's enough for most of the randos inside of the gym. It doesn't actually knock out the Dratini's though. Okay, we might actually have a little bit of trouble here. In this case, Hypnosis into Dream Eater could be the play, just on the basis that it does allow us to heal up and avoid damage. So we might have to go for that on some of these randos. This could be a little bit rough. Fortunately, there are some Seadras and Horsies in here that we can just destroy with our Thunders though, so we should get to the gym leader just fine. It's maybe just not the most consistent section of the game for us. Still, we're going to go ahead and put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry just to have it for this fight, because we might need it if we start missing some Hypnosises here. I think the strategy is pretty much the same as what we were dealing with the Haunter until we get to the Kingdra. Let's just see how it goes. So Clair attempt number 1, we missed the first Hypnosis. She misses the first Thunder Wave though, so that's perfectly fine. We put this Pokemon to sleep. Now Dream Eater is going to be a 2-hit KO here. Shadow Ball is also a 2-hitter from as best as I can tell. We get paralyzed by the second of the Dragonairs, but we do get it to sleep after that. And sure enough, Shadow Ball is going to be a 2-hit KO here. Thunderbolt is dealing a lot of damage though, and we're fully paralyzed for 2 turns in a row. I think that's all she wrote for this one, as we lose the first attempt. We're going to have to get much better luck with the Hypnosises here. Let's try this again. Next attempt, we do get the third Dragonair to sleep. We used our Paralyzed Cure Berry here. We got hit by 1 Ice Beam, but we can heal up after that with the Dream Eater and then just Shadow Ball this Pokemon down. So we're 2 Kingdra on full health. On the second attempt, we put it to sleep. I'm going to go Thunder here just to see what it does. It does about half. If we can hit another Thunder, we manage to win on this second attempt. So just like our evolved form, just 2 attempts to actually beat Clair there, not too bad, and we're ready to move on in this one. Now, of course, when we get to Lancey Boy, who she's going to go warn about us here, the Thunder will help us against 3 of his Pokemon, but it's only going to be neutral against the other 3, so I'm not sure how that fight's actually going to work out for us. We're going to have to hope to get some pretty reasonable luck against the Dragonites, I think, but yet again, we should be faster at that point. I think that's going to be our saving grace with this Gastly. The fact that we're in that medium slow level up group, plus the fact that we get just so much speed with this Pokemon, is probably going to make this just fine at the end of the day. Even if we have to rely on a lot of Hypnosis luck to get it to go, it will at least be a Pokemon that does eventually get through. So we'll just come tell the old guys that we are ready to take our Ghost to go fight against Lancey Boy eventually. They're going to wish us some luck here. And speaking of, I am going to have to do a gym leader / Elite Four member video in this generation coming up with Agatha. I actually have a ROM hack already made up for it, and I think it's going to be really interesting because she's going to outlevel basically everything at the league, plus have these super trolly strats that you have to think that Agatha could beat the league in this generation. I mean, she was clearly forced retired. You know, she may have transformed into a Gengar herself. I don't know. But one way or another, I just think that she has to get through Willy Boy, even though she doesn't have any like normal damage dealing ghost moves. I'm just pretty sure that she's trolly enough to get the win eventually. Same for Karen. I think she's just trollier than Karen and can eventually get the win. But it could also turn out to be an absolute nightmare when we get to the league. I'm honestly not sure. I'm going to be very interested to test that one out, especially to find at what point I actually have to start trying and not just using her random AI and swapping out randomly and whatnot. It could be very interesting to see. Still, for now, we're just going to continue with Gastly to Rival 5, and I don't think there are any moveset changes. Let's just see how he actually goes. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, he leads off with the Sneasel, of course. I'm going to try to go Thunder because I'm 12 levels higher than this Pokemon, and that does get the 1-hit KO. Golbat comes out next. We hit Thunder again, getting the 1-hitter. Magneton's out after that. Here I'm going to try Hypnosis. I miss. It misses Thunder Wave. I miss again, and now it hits the Thunder Wave, and it's Thunder Shocking me. I'm not sure how this is going to go. We're going to Dream Eater right here, of course, to recover some HP. It turns out to be a 3-hitter here, and we're fully paralyzed after that, so we're on fairly low health as the Haunter comes out. It goes Shadow Ball and destroys me. I'm gonna have to try this one again. Still, this one looks like it's just gonna come down to actually landing Thunder on the first 2 Pokemon and then landing the Sleep on the 3rd Pokemon. We could put on another Paralyzed Cure Berry here. I'm gonna try to avoid it for right now and just try to recover my HP on the Magneton. It goes Thunder Shock this time, so I can just knock it out after that. That's perfectly fine. Haunter comes out next and gets destroyed this time because I'm am not paralyzed. I can one-shot with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is more than enough for the Kadabra, and now we've made it to the Feraligatr. I'm just going to go Thunder. I miss. Water Gun doesn't do that much, though. We're just missing all the Thunders. When we do finally hit, it's a one-hit KO. I mean, we had 9 levels on that Pokemon and a super effective move and really good special attack compared to its special defense. I mean, we're just guaranteed to win at that point. So we managed to get through, and just like that, GhastWave, the Gastly, has made it all the way to the league on minimum battles. We're perfectly fine to go into the first fight against Willy Boy with the Shadow Ball. Got the Hypnosis Dream Eater strats that I think will be more than enough for Koga and for Bruno. We'll just see how we do against Karen. And then at least Thunder is neutrally effective against Lance's Dragonites and super effective against everything else on his team. So I think we're going to be able to get the win. We're just going to have to see how it goes. For now, though, let me give a massive thank you to the Programmed Knight, who has been here supporting for 19 months. For some reason, it's cutting off a little bit up there. I'm going to have to see what's going on with that. I have done some overlay upgrades, but that also sometimes means that the overlay kind of breaks. We'll just have to see if I can get that fixed. It's probably just a matter of widening this out. Still, for now, the Programmed Knight, I can't thank you enough for sticking with me and supporting this Gastly all the way to the league, and we're ready to get into Willy Boy in the next section, where I think he's just getting destroyed. And I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that this Pokemon is going to get through the league and get really far into Kanto as well. Like, if we get to Kanto, we're going to struggle with Sabrina, but I mean, outside of that, I think we can find a way through everything. Blue could turn out to be kind of hard, but the medium slow level up group, it always gives me a little bit of hope. We'll just have to see in the end how it works. For now, though, that does it for this one. Let's check in on our results so far. So coming back to our results so far, of course, we've got 72 Pokemon up there in that pass column, including the Haunter and the Gengar. They did not have to go for any OPTMs in order to make this work. Gastly, I went ahead and threw on the OPTM of Thunder, but one OPTM at this point is perfectly fine, I think, on these Pokemon, since it would be legit to get that Game Corner TM if you were doing a normal solo run. You would get enough items to be able to sell for the money to get that to go, so this is perfectly fine. And Gastly joins the other completed member picks there, ready to move on to the next section. We're still not failing with anything, which is just kind of insane. Still, with that being done, we can move on to our psychic types for today. I'm going to look at Hypno, and I'm going to look at Exeggutor, since they're both psychic type. They're kind of an interesting comparison here. Let's just see how they go, starting with that Hypno. So Hypno is coming in at level 34 with Confusion, Hypnosis, Fire Punch, and Headbutt. We will learn Meditate at level 40, which could significantly boost our physical attacks. So while we do learn quite a few elemental punches, for example, I'm not sure if we'll actually need them. We're just going to have to kind of see how this goes as we get to Clair, because we will be over level 40 when we get to Clair. That's true of every Pokemon. Even the slow level up group reaches level 40 there. And we could just end up in a situation where it's all about Hypnosis, Meditate, and then just using something like Headbutt in order to get through the fights. I'm honestly not sure. I'm going to have to test this and see, but we'll just lead off by going and stunting on the Rocket storyline. Since we have Stab Confusion, I think we'll be pretty good there, but let's see how it actually goes. And of course, with no issues whatsoever, we make it to the Marlboro Man. We've got access to Confusion. I think we just destroy him, but let's see how it goes. First up, against his first Coughing, we go Confusion, and that is a one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Second Coughing also gets completely destroyed. Third Coughing goes down nice and easy. Fourth Coughing comes out. Apparently, he doesn't even want to send Wheezing out because he's a little scared. He finally does send it out. It's a two-hit KO on this Pokemon. He smoke screens, but we still destroy him. And the final Coughing comes out. We miss once, but we hit the next turn. And just like that, the Marlboro Man goes down super easy. No issues whatsoever with this Hypno. Now we're ready to make our way to the basement and rival number 4. Fire Punch is the perfect move to have here for this one, for the Sneasel and for the Magnemite, the two Pokemon that are resistant to the Psychic type. Golbat should go down reasonably easily with the Fusion, so I think we're going to have an easy time here, but let's just see how it actually works out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, we go Confusion on Golbat. It's not a one-hitter. It goes Confuse Ray against me, and now it's going Wing Attack. Still, we knock it out in 2 more turns after hitting ourselves in Confusion once. Sneasel goes Feint Attack because it is faster than me. Still, once I snap out of Confusion, Fire Punch is not even a one-hit KO here, so it takes 2 turns to knock that one out. Magnemite, fortunately, is much weaker, so it goes down in a single Fire Punch. That brings out the Haunter. I think I'm going to put this one to sleep and now go into the Confusions. We do manage to one-shot there, so I guess I was being a little too conservative. Still, we get to Meganium. I'm going to put this one to sleep as well in Fire Punch. We don't have enough special attack here, so it's a 2-hit KO, even with the super effective move. Still, we managed to win on the first attempt. The Rival's really not that bad, but he's not as easy as I would have expected just due to the fact that we don't have such great special attack as the last 3 Pokemon that we've been running. If this were like Gen 1, obviously this Pokemon would be a much better special attacker, but unfortunately it got nerfed pretty hard in Gen 2. But with that done, nothing else in this Rocket section should give us any issues till we get to the final executives. So let's just get to the very end of this section. So sure enough, we make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni here, and I've added on Meditate over the Fire Punch, with the idea being to put opponents to sleep, set up some Meditates, and then headbutt things down. Let's see how this actually works out for us. So here against the first Houndour, I'm actually going to put it to sleep. I'm going to set up some Meditates here. 2 Meditates will double my attack stat, which I think is probably enough for this fight. We can just headbutt the Houndour down now. Let's see what happens against Houndoom. Headbutt is a one-hit KO because it doesn't have great defense. And now when the Coughing comes out, I will switch to Confusion because Coughing does have such good defense relative to its special defense, and because Confusion is super effective. It's the no-brainer play. So we get the easy first attempt victory there. We send him back crawling to his boss, where he's probably going to get fired or demoted or something, probably be forced to work on Saturdays and Sundays for the rest of the year. You know how it goes when you join a corporate structure and have a boss. That's the way things actually work out. On the other hand, we're like a 10-year-old kid, so we don't actually know what work is. We're just gonna go ahead and make our way out into the world where we can go take on Clair, where I think the strategy is pretty simple. Just put the first Dragonair to sleep, set up a bunch of Meditates, and then just sweep through the team. I think that's the way to go. Sure, we could go for some like Ice Punch strats, but I'd rather just avoid that for now and go with the synergy of our Sleep plus Meditate plus Headbutt strats, which I think are going to be a lot of fun to run through the rest of this section. So let's just see how it actually works out. So it took a few attempts actually to get through to Clair with Hypno, just because I kept getting paralyzed and not being able to actually put things to sleep, set up Meditate, and then sweep. The other thing that I learned against the Dragonair that's 1 level lower than Clair's Dragonairs on this trainer right here, 2 Meditates was not enough to one-hit KO against the Dragonair. We're going to have to set up 3 Meditates, I think, to sweep. So we're going to need the Paralyzed Cure Berry. I think it's going to be super important in this one. And then we're just going to have to hope and pray that we can manage to get to sleep, set up at least 3 Meditates, and then that should allow us to get through the team with the Headbutts, at least all the way to the final Kingdra, at which point I think we win. So let's just see how this actually works out. So Clair attempt number 1, we do get the first Dragonair to sleep. I'm going to set up my 3 Meditates. It wakes up on the next turn and paralyzes me. We have to use the Paralyzed Cure Berry. Fortunately, we get it back to sleep after that, and we set up 2 more Meditates here. Let's see if this is enough for the Headbutt to one-shot. It is on the first Dragonair. We level up to level 44 right here. We knock out the second Dragonair, and that should mean the third one also goes down. Sure enough, it does. So we've made it to Kingdra. We Headbutt, doing over half. It flinches, and that gives us the victory. So we beat Clair on the second attempt there. Really not too bad at the end of the day. It's not super consistent, but it's also not terrible. We just really need to actually land the sleep and get all of our Meditates set up. In fact, I said that was the second attempt. I'm pretty sure that was the first attempt, and my eyes just misread the attempt counter because I don't remember a previous attempt against her, or maybe my overlay's glitching out. I'm gonna have have to check and see. Either way though, it's not a hard fight. It's just a matter of knowing how many of the meditates to actually set up. And once you have that, you're perfectly good to go. In fact, I think that's going to be the main thing with this Hypno from here on out, is really just figuring out exactly how many meditates you need on every single fight in order to take down whatever is the biggest threat in front of you. And keep in mind, later on, we can throw on a move like Shadow Ball to be a physical attack that will also work with the meditate strategies for things like enemy Gengars, for example. So we should have enough moves that we can make this work. But now we're ready to take on Rival 5 with this Pokemon, and we're just gonna, again, have to kind of test and see. He's gonna lead off with the Sneasel, which might even be faster than me. I'm honestly not sure, but I'm gonna try to put that Pokemon to sleep, set up some meditates there, at least 2, maybe 3, and we're just gonna see how we go after that. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, we do land the first Hypnosis. I'm going to go straight into the meditate spam. I'm going to go a little hard, especially because he hasn't woken up yet. When he does wake up, I'm obviously going to go in for the attack, but I've set up 4 meditates at this point. Let's see if we can just headbutt things down. Obviously, Sneasel goes down in a single hit. Golbat, let's just see. It is a 1-hit KO on that Pokemon. Magneton comes out. We headbutt. It misses the Thunder Wave, and we manage to knock it out in 2 hits. Haunter comes out. This is where I will go Confusion and get the 1-hit KO. The Kadabra comes out. We can just headbutt it and easily win against that Pokemon as we get to level 46. And now Meganium headbutt is not quite a one-hitter, but it flinches, so we get the easy victory. It looks like maybe going for all 6 meditates would have been the play, but at the end of the day, it didn't make any difference, and we're perfectly good to go on to the league. Now, against the league is where we have to make some decisions. I think for the first fight, we're going to replace Headbutt with Shadow Ball. It just makes way too much sense. Obviously, Headbutt is relearnable. You could get an infinite number of those TMs from the department store. I mean, effectively, we have enough money at this point that we could totally afford tons of Headbutt TMs, as well as a bunch of elemental punches. We will learn Psychic at level 49, which would be just in time for Koga and for Bruno. So we could even forget the move Confusion if we want to have a different like elemental punch just specifically for Willy Boy, I think. But I think Shadow Ball is the way to go right there. And then honestly, if we have Shadow Ball plus Headbutt, I think that will be enough to get us through Karen, and then we just have to decide what to do against Lancey Boy. But against Lance, we could just abandon all physical moves and just go for elemental punches. So I think we're going to get through the league with this one, but we're just going to have to see how it goes. For now, Hypno gets through. Let's check in on Exeggutor. So Exeggutor is coming into this section with Confusion, Hypnosis, Egg Bomb, and Stomp. And I think we've got enough coverage that we should be able to get through things. Obviously, we do have the weakness to Poison here, which could be kind of interesting, plus a weakness to Fire that could affect some things, and a weakness to Ice that could affect some things. So we're just going to have to see how that goes. We won't get any new level up moves in this section of the game, so we're just going to have to see how it actually works for us. Solar Beam strats could come in once we get access to that TM, but of course we have to get through the 8 gyms first so that we can use Waterfall outside of battle. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see this one. We're in these slow level up groups, so we're going to be at the lowest possible levels of Pokemon going through this section of the game, which does put us at a pretty big disadvantage as we move forward. So we're really hoping that our high special attack carries us. We should also note that Sludge Bomb is available to us at this point, as is Rollout if we want to go for that sort of strategy. So there are some options to replace our physical moves if we need to. For now though, I think this moveset's good enough to at least get us through the first part of the Rocket storyline. Let's just see how it goes. And without any issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man. I think that our Stab Confusion with our pretty good special attack stat here is going to be enough to get us through, in spite of the fact that we're at much lower levels than we were with a lot of other Pokemon coming into this fight. So let's just see how it goes. Up against the first Coughing, we're only 3 levels higher than this Pokemon, but we can go Confusion and get the one-shot at least with a crit. Let's see what a non-crit does. It's still enough to one-shot here, so we should one-hit KO everything other than the Wheezing. Of course, we don't really like Sludge here, but I don't think it's going to KO me from this level of health. In fact, we get the one-shot, so we should be guaranteed to win this fight from here. So the Marlboro Man, in spite of the fact that he had a Grass type in front of him, theoretically, theoretically a pretty good matchup, just couldn't tank the confusions. That was enough to give us the win. I should note that I have done a run with Celebi before, which is obviously also a grass psychic type Pokemon using confusion at this point in the game, but I did that one on 0 DVs way back in the first year of the channel, and I found that when I got to the Marlboro Man with that Celebi, I actually was not dealing enough damage to one-shot his Pokemon, so I was losing that fight repeatedly. Max TVs are putting in some pretty serious work for these Pokemon at this point in the game. Even without vitamins being slammed into our best stats, it still could affect some of these fights in the ranges, so just keep that in mind as we go through here. For now, we've made it to Rival 4. Let's see how he actually goes with this current moveset, or if we need any sort of upgrades. I don't think there's a lot that we can throw on that will make us that much better against the Rival. Still, we just have to test it and see. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm going to try Confusion on the Golbat just to see what it does. It manages to get the one-hit KO as we get to level 35. Out comes Sneasel. I'm going to try to Egg Bomb this Pokemon, and that is going to be a 2-hit KO. Stomp is probably the play after that. 2 feint attacks took us down to about half health. Out comes the Quilava. We managed to put it to sleep, and now I'm going for the Egg Bomb. It's going to be a 2-hitter here as well. Stomp is clearly the play after that, just to knock that Pokemon out. Magnemite, I went for the Hypnosis and missed. I got paralyzed. Now it's going for Sonic Boom against me. Still, we managed to get this one to sleep eventually. We can go for the Confusions to knock it out. That's going to bring out the Haunter. Our problem is that Shadow Ball probably ends me right here. Sure enough, it does. Because of the paralysis, we just didn't have a chance there. So I think we have to get the sleep on that Magnemite if we're going to get through this one. So we're just going to have to try this one again. Sleep is probably the play against Sneasel as well, and we can just test out Stomp to see. It looks like Stomp is a 2-hit KO there. That brings out Quilava again. We put it to sleep. We're just slightly faster than this Pokemon. We go for Stomp and manage to get the 2-hit KO. We did get a Smoke Screen though, which is pretty bad. Still, we get Magnemite to sleep this time. Confusion looks like a 2-hitter here. Even though we've got the 1 accuracy drop, we do manage to take it out, and that brings out Haunter, which is outspeeding me. It goes Curse. I miss the Confusion. It hits Shadow Ball. I survive, and I do knock it out this time when I actually manage to hit. So just 2 attempts there on the Rival. Really not too bad. I tend to have a few resets that show on the overlay that are because of the fact that I'm resetting to get around some of the spinners, so just take that for what you will. It was only 1 reset really there on the Rival, even though it shows 4 resets on the overlay. And with that, we're ready to move on through the rest of these rockets. We are going to have a pretty bad matchup against Mr. Wannabe Giovanni, since he does have the Houndour and Houndoom, but I think we're going to be able to get it to go. Let's just get to that fight and see how it actually works out. And sure enough, no issues. We get to the final Wannabe Giovanni. Let's just see if Stomp and Egg Bomb are enough here, or if we need to make some sort of moveset change for something that's more consistent. Strength is available, for example, as a normal type move that's a little bit stronger, and we could always go for the max power return, though I think I would rather go for something like Sludge Bomb at this point, again, as something that would give us some coverage but also be neutrally effective. But let's just see how this actually goes. So attempt number 1 right here, I'm going to try to Stomp on the Houndour, and that is enough to one-shot that Pokemon. Houndoom comes out next. I'm going for the Egg Bomb as he goes Smog on me, and fortunately it doesn't have great defense, so we did massive damage there. A Stomp should simply finish this one off, and it does. That brings out the final Coughing. We can go Confusion, and that is a 1-hit KO. So we managed to beat the Rocket Executive on the first attempt, in spite of the fact that everything on his team is technically super effective. He's dumb enough to go for Smog with the Houndoom because, hey, it's a super effective move, even though it's not same type. He clearly should just be going for Bite or Feint Attack there, but we will take it. We get the easy victory, and we're ready to move on to Clair. Now, once again, against Clair, I think this is going to be a spot where it just makes the most sense to do something like a Paralyzed Cure Berry. Maybe we could learn a move like the Sludge Bomb just to have a strong physical move, maybe have a chance for some sort sort of status, and that way we can avoid going straight for the return. So that might be my strategy here, but I'm going to try with my moveset as it is first. The main issue, of course, is just the fact that it's so inaccurate to be going for the Egg Bomb. So there are a lot of spots where you'd much rather have another move, even if Egg Bomb is technically stronger, just because you're going to hit more consistently. We'll have to see how it actually works or what kind of ranges we're getting, because who knows, it might not make any difference between Stomp and having something like Sludge. So we're just going to have to test this and see. And it could also be with our higher special attack that we're just fine using Confusion to get through things here. And after a little bit of testing here, number one, we weren't even guaranteed to one-hit KO Dratinis with our Confusion going through this section. So the Dragonairs are obviously 2-hit KOs at least with that move. Stomp also, I'm not sure is going to do enough. Even against the Dragonair just before Clair, it was just barely a 2-hit KO. A level higher, it might turn out that Dragonairs on Clair's team are 3-hit KOs with the Confusion. I'm honestly not sure. I'm going to test it out, but if they turn out to be 3-hitters, I may throw on Sludge Bomb to see what that does for me. Maybe that gives me a better range. We're just going to have to test it and see. Paralyzed Cure Berry, I think, is super important here, though, because we're very likely to get paralyzed, and we really don't want to take a bunch of Ice Beams here. So we're going to have to be faster than the Dragonair with Ice Beam that's likely coming out second, but I'm honestly not sure if that's how she'll play it. So let's test this and see. So Clair attempt number one, I'm going to try to put the first Dragonair to sleep. I miss. I have to recover with the Paralyzed Cure Berry when she gets me paralyzed. Fortunately, she missed the next Thunder Wave. I'm going Confusion. We can see this does look like a 2-hitter, so we do manage to take that Pokemon down. Out next comes the Ice Beam Dragonair. We have to put this one to sleep if we're going to have any chance. We do get the sleep here, and Confusion is getting the 2-hit KO, so that's perfectly fine. Next Dragonair comes out. We miss the Hypnosis. It paralyzes me. At this point, I think we just have to go all in on attack. We do confuse the Dragonair. It hits itself in Confusion twice for us when we are fully paralyzed. So we are at least getting to the Kingdra on green health at level 41 here. It goes Smokescreen. I miss with the Hypnosis. Dragon Breath is just doing enough, and unfortunately we get knocked out on that attempt. We're gonna have to try this again. Round two, we're getting better luck. We haven't used our Paralyzed Cure Berry as we get to the third Dragonair, and we don't have the threat of Ice Beam anymore. We miss the Hypnosis here, but we get a heal up. It goes Dragon Breath after that, so we don't get paralyzed as we put it to sleep. Back to our Confusion spam. We're going to get the 2-hitter there, and now to Kingdra. We are slower than this Pokemon. It still goes Smokescreen. I'm just going to try to go for the Confusions here. It looks like a 3-hitter. If we can manage the hits, she Hyper Potions, and she's going really hard on Smokescreen against me. Surf doesn't do that much, fortunately, and then she misses Hyper Beam there. She hits that one, but we survive, and just like that, we managed to beat her on the second attempt. She just doesn't have any great moves to use against this Exeggutor, and that allows us to get the victory on the second attempt against Kingdra. And now we're ready to move on towards the league with this one, where we're going to tell Lance that technically in the future, this Pokemon is a dragon. At least one version of it is. It would be very, very interesting to run a dragon type with the Exeggutor. We may need to backport Alolan Exeggutor in the future. For now, though, let's just go ahead and make our way down to the old guys and tell them about the fact that we were able to get Exeggutor through Clair because she wasn't smart enough to give her Kingdra any moves that are good against the grass type. That's a mistake that I don't think Lancey Boy is going to repeat, so we are going to need some luck in that fight. Still, before any of that, we've got to make our way to the Rival 5 fight, and I'm going to pick up Solar Beam here. We also have Sunny Day in the bag, so we could always go for a Solar Beam Sunny Day strat if we really need to at some point in the league. I think when we get to Willy Boy, we're going to have to go for something like Sludge Bomb, though. I think that's going to be our best play, especially against his Exeggutor. We might have Solar Beam as well at that point. I'm going to just have to play around with the moveset a little bit and see what works for me when I actually get there. Things like Egg Bomb and Stomp probably fall off pretty quick because I'm not sure we're going to be fast enough to use Stomp consistently. And then Egg Bomb obviously isn't going to be that strong, especially compared to something like Solar Beam, which is one of our best same type moves. I just have to think that we'll be better off using that in a lot of situations. In fact, I could see an argument for immediately forgetting Stomp and Egg Bomb right here, but I'm going to try against the rival with my current moveset. Let's just see how it goes. I'll think about throwing on Sludge Bomb first if I'm having any trouble over the Egg Bomb. I think we have to keep Confusion for Koga and for Bruno as we get into the league. By the time we get to Karen, we might start thinking about taking that move off as well. We'll just have to see. But for now, let's just see how this fight actually goes. So first up against the rival, he leads off with Sneasel. We're slower than this Pokemon. I'm going to try to Egg Bomb here, just seeing if it can get the KO. It does, and he missed Screech. So that's about as good as it gets on that Pokemon. Typhlosion comes out next. It goes Flame Wheel, dealing massive damage. We have to put this one to sleep. Now we can go for the Confusion. It looks like a 3-hit KO here. Fortunately, we do knock that Pokemon out, getting the level 42. Golbat comes out next. Confusion doesn't quite one-hit KO. That's terrible. So we're going to have to get a little bit of luck from here. We can put Magneton to sleep, fortunately, and now Confusion is not that great. Maybe a 3-hit KO. Fortunately, it is staying asleep, so it's giving us the chance to get through. Haunter comes out next. Confusion is a 1-hit KO there. That brings out Kadabra. I'm going to Stomp on it, and that is a 1-hitter there as well. So we do manage to get through on the first attempt against the rival, but our low speed is making us look pretty suspect here, and the fact that we don't have a ton of levels as we go into the league could be a problem. Still, against Willy Boy, we should stand up pretty well to everything other than Jinx, where our low special defense could be a problem, and we're never going to outspeed that Pokemon without a Quick Claw. But if we can hit Jinx with a really strong physical attack, we should have a chance. So I'm just not sure how it's going to go. We're going to have to test it and see. But for now, Exeggutor does get to the league on minimum battles. So we continue our clean sweep through Clair at this point, with 74 Pokemon legitimately getting through. Once we add that Exeggutor and that Hypno up there to the pass column, now it's time to look at Kingler. It's kind of just sitting there on its own as a water type in this episode. Before we get to our ground types, of course, we've got the steel ground type with Steelix, and we've got Ghosty Mama Marowak coming in, and Baby Cubone. The little CuTip is gonna have to try to get through this section as well, but I'm just gonna lead off with the Kingler first and just see how it goes. As a water type, I expect it to do pretty well against Clair. It's really about the rival's Meganium, but I think we've got enough moves with Kingler at this point. We should be fine. Let's test and see. So Kingler is coming in with Surf, Fury Cutter, Stomp, and Harden. Stomp is a move that we could always replace with something stronger, of course. Blizzard strats are on the table if we really need to go YOLO at some point. But for now, I think we've got enough moves to make this work. Let's just see how we do in the Rocket section. Our biggest thing, of course, is the fact that we have the lower special attack, so we aren't ever really excited about using Surf, even though it is our strongest same type move effectively, at least at this point in the game. We may forget Surf later on to learn Crab Hammer, since it does have the high critical hit chance and is effectively almost the same power, but we had to use Mystic Water just to boost our special enough to get through the Jasmine fight, so you have to take that for what it's worth. Still, for Rando Rockets, I think it will be enough, so let's just see if we can get through this section nice and easy and get up to the Marlboro Man. So with just one reset due to routing, we do make it to the Marlboro Man at the top of the tower with no issues, and I think Surf is going to be enough for the coughings. The question is just the wheezing. Let's see how it goes. So up against the first coughing, I go for Surf, and that is in fact a one-hit KO, and that tells us we're going to sweep the team other than maybe the Wheezing. Might be a two-hitter, but let's just see what the actual range is when it comes out. Here against Wheezing, we go Surf, doing over half, so sure enough, we're going to knock it out in 2 hits. Sludge poisons me, but it doesn't matter, as we're just going to sweep the rest of the team and get to level 37 right here as we get ready to go down and take on rival number 4. Now for the Meganium, we may need to build up with the Fury Cutter in order to get the victory. We'll just have to see, but this shouldn't be a terrible fight any way you put it. So here against Rival 4, we're going to test this out and see. First, I'm going to go Surf on the Golbat. It does a little over half, but now I'm going to start setting up Fury Cutter, trying to build this move up. We get confused right here. A Bitter Berry might be the correct play against this Pokemon, just to give us a way to actually survive and not get confused. Let's try this. So once again, we will use Surf first and then start building up Fury Cutter. We missed twice in a row. He confuses me, but I use the Bitter Berry only to immediately hit myself in confusion. I think that bad luck of missing 2 Fury Cutters in a row is enough to justify a reset. This time we do manage to knock out the Golbat. That brings out Magnemite. I'm gonna stick with Fury Cutter here. We do get the one-shot on that Pokemon. Meganium's out next and gets one-shot by the built-up Fury Cutter. As we get to level 36, we could learn Protect. I think I'm gonna skip the move for now. I don't think it's worth it. Definitely tell me if you think that's a mistake in the comments section down below. For now though, Haunter comes out. I'm gonna stick with Fury Cutter again. We miss. After that, I'll go for Surf to simply knock that Pokemon out. And that brings out Sneasel. We'll go with the Surf. It's going to be a 2-hitter here, and Feint Attack ends me after the curse. Unfortunately, we couldn't take it down. Maybe if we had hit our Fury Cutter, we would have had a chance. Or maybe it's better to go Stomp there. I'm honestly not sure. We're going to just have to try this again. Next attempt, we are going to make it back to that Haunter. Let's see what happens if we actually hit here. It does about half Shadow Ball this time, so we actually managed to survive. That brings us to the Sneasel. We missed the Fury Cutter, only for us to then get knocked out by a Quick Attack when we're on 1 HP. If we had hit, we would have won. Unfortunately, we just had to get the 5% chance to miss on that exact turn. So clearly this is a winnable fight. It's just not a perfectly consistent one by any means. This time on attempt number 11, we actually hit the Fury Cutter on Sneasel, so we finally get the victory. It's not super consistent to win that fight, but it is ultimately possible thanks to the fact that we do have Fury Cutter on the moveset. As long as you hit all the Fury Cutters, you're good to go. The second you miss even one though, it's basically a reset on that fight. There may be a better strategy, but I think at the end of the day, at least as far as the Ghost goes, the built-up Fury Cutter is probably pretty much on par with going for Surf at that point. We've already lamented enough in this series the fact that the Kingler line doesn't learn Dig in this generation. Still, I expect that from here we're just going to crush the rest of this section with our water type, especially when we get to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. So we should be able to get through this section just fine. Then it's just on to Claire to see how she goes. And after that, with no issues, we make it to the top of the radio tower. We're ready to take on Mr. Wannabe Giovanni right here, where Surf should be enough to just sweep the team, but let's find out. First up against Houndour, I just go for Surf right here, and that is a 1-hit KO. Out comes the Coughing second. We'll just Surf on this Pokemon as well, getting the 1-hitter, and that brings out Houndoom. Yes, it does have decent special defense, but Surf is super effective, and it's enough to just get the easy victory. In spite of our paltry 77 special attack, it's still just more than enough for that fight. So we get the easy victory, and we're ready to move on to Clair. Now, this is the section where I think we might have to upgrade our physical move. Stomp just might not be enough at this point. Something like Strength or Return makes a lot of sense here. Like, even though Icy Wind is super effective against Clair, I'm just not sure that it's actually going to be that useful. Given our low special attack, it's probably not going to do as much damage as a move like Strength here. So I may end up going for Strength over the Stomp. We'll just test the ranges a little bit to see. I think Strength is the go-to since it doesn't require us to manipulate Friendship at all, and it would be just easily available to any Pokemon at this point. You can always forget the HM moves thanks to the move deleter, so it's not like it's a massive mistake to learn that move. In fact, we would probably want to forget Surf pretty soon here so that we can make sure to learn Crab Hammer instead. So it would kind of make sense to throw that move onto the moveset, since it's not like Surf is going to help us at all inside of Claire's gym anyway, this is probably the best play. If I had to guess though, the best way to play Kingler would probably be to have something like a max power hidden power ground. That would probably give you the best coverage and help you in most of the situations where your low special attack is actually hurting you. I don't know though, we'll just kind of have to test this and see. For now, I'm going to see how I do against the randos inside of Claire's gym, and we'll see how we do against the gym leader herself. So it appears that we're getting a 2-hit KO against the Dragonair just before Claire. I think this is a spot to give a paralyzed Cure Berry, and I'm going to go for the Fury Cutter strat against Claire. I think this is going to be the best play. Let's just test this and see how it actually works out. So Claire attempt number 1 on this first Dragonair. I'm just going to start setting up the Fury Cutter. Obviously, it doesn't do very much to start. She paralyzes me on the second turn after missing 1 Thunder Wave, and it's going to end up being a 4-hit KO on the first Pokemon. Still, we do knock that one out and get to level 44. Thunderbolt from the second Dragonair is a problem, but we do one-shot there. Third Dragonair comes out, it goes Dragon Breath and knocks me out with a crit. Still, if we can just get enough misses from Thunder Wave, this should work. So let's just keep testing this and see. In fact, it might even be worth going for a Stomp on the first Dragonair, hoping for a flinch, and then to start setting up the Fury Cutters. Since in the beginning we're doing so little damage anyway, this might actually be the better play. That will bring out the second Dragonair, which misses a Thunder Wave rather than going for Thunderbolt against me, allowing me to knock it out in 2 hits. Third Dragonair gets completely destroyed by the Fury Cutter now, and that brings us to Kingdra. We hit the Fury Cutter in 1 shot. So basically, in the end, my strategy is to stomp once on the first Dragonair, hoping to flinch it, then to set up 2 times with the Fury Cutter there. That requires me to only dodge 1 Thunder Wave, either from the first Dragonair or the second Dragonair, and I can heal up with the Paralyzed Cure Berry on one of those. So just take that for what you will, but you do need the Stomp flinch, so you're still looking for a little bit of luck there, but ultimately it does work out. Only a couple attempts really to get through Claire. That's not too bad at the end of the day. Now, fortunately, Kingler is fast enough to use some of those flinch strats. For example, we will be faster, I think, than everything other than Jinx on Willy Boy's team at this point, which should give us a decent chance of actually being able to progress with this Pokemon. We'll have to obviously test it and find out for sure, but as long as we're faster than something like Xatu, there's always a win condition where we can simply flinch that Pokemon to get the victory, and we may want to go for the Bitter Berry again there in order to just be able to survive some confusion status as we set up something like Fury Cutter to knock our opponents out. It could be that Xatu is a case where you go for this Stomp first and then start setting up, just like what we just did to Claire. So we'll just have to test that and see when we get there. That is the one advantage of keeping the Stomp, is that we do get that opportunity to flinch our opponents and use that to get a range where we can then set up the Fury Cutters after that with fewer turns, which could actually affect some of the battles going forward. We'll just have to see. For now though, we're just going to go take on our rival. I'm going to keep Surf on my moveset for now. I will likely forget the move as I go into the league just to give myself a little more flexibility. But with our current moveset, let's just see how the rival actually goes. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. I'm just going to lead off with the Fury Cutter against the Sneasel since it is weak to the move. It goes for Screech and then goes for its own Fury Cutter, which doesn't matter. We hit the Sneasel 3 times to knock it out. That brings out the Magneton. I go for Fury Cutter. This is going to be a 2-hitter. It misses with the Thunder Wave though, so we get the 2-hit KO with no damage taken or status. We can now one-shot Meganium. That's going to bring out the Golbat. At this point, we might be better off just switching into our other moves, Stomp and Surf. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Stomp the Golbat here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO as we get confused by Confuse Ray. The Screech is affecting us here as we did massive damage to ourselves. We're down to 31 HP as we knock that Pokemon out. Haunter comes out next. I'm going for Surf, but I knock myself out in confusion. We're going to have to try this one again. I do think the Paralyzed Cure Berry is the correct play though, now that I've seen that the Magneton is a 2-hitter though. In fact, it might be a 3-hitter this time because we got a 2-hit range with a crit on the Sneasel. That is really bad. Still, we get one Thunder Wave miss and another Thunder Wave does connect, but we heal with the Paralyzed Cure Berry. So we do get through that Pokemon. We can destroy Meganium again. We're back to Golbat. We kind of want to flinch this Pokemon. We get confused. Fortunately, we are on full health, but we're hitting ourselves a bunch of times. So we're down to 1 HP as we finally get through that one and get to Haunter. We hit Surf and it doesn't quite one-shot. So unfortunately, we just go down. Still, eventually, I think we should have chances here. So I'm just going to knock this Sneasel out. Get back to Magneton, where once again it misses with the Thunder Wave, giving us the victory there. Once again, we can destroy Meganium, so that's not an issue. Back to the Golbat. It flinches this time, so we managed to knock it out nice and easy. That brings out Haunter. I'm going to go Surf and get the 1-hit KO this time. That will bring out Kadabra. I'm just going to Stomp it, and that is a 1-hit KO as well. So we do eventually manage to get through Rival 5. He's not perfectly consistent, but he is possible with this moveset, and I think we're ready to move on to the league with this setup, with really the only change that I'm going to make going into the league to be to forget the move Surf. I may throw on like Strength on top of that. I'm not sure. Of course, once we're in the league, we can't go back out and use the move deleter, so we have to really think about that. Crab Hammer at level 49 though, which is coming in 3 more levels, is a move that I will really want to have on the moveset, since that will effectively be almost as strong as Surf, but also give us that high critical hit chance. That could be the difference between a win and a loss. So we'll just have to see how it actually goes. Of course, some Rain Dance plus Surf strats could come into play as well. When we get to Lancey Boy himself, that's where Blizzard might come in as our strategy to get through basically everything other than the Charizard and the Gyarados. Still, we'll have to test all of that once we actually get there. For now, Kingler has made it to the league and is ready to move on in this game. Now that, of course, will bring us next to Ghosty Mama Marowak, the original ghost Pokemon that is not a ghost. We're going to have to do a ghost type Marowak in this challenge someday. But for now, we're coming in with Bone Meringue, Focused Energy, Headbutt, and Mud Slap. This moveset's probably enough to get us through the Rocket storyline with no issues. The real question is the rival, how we're going to do there. Against the Meganium, if we get desperate, we always could go for something like Blizzard or Fire Blast. There is also Fire Punch and Thunder Punch available to this Pokemon, so we don't have great special attack. We'd obviously prefer to be a physical attacker, so we're just going to have to test this out and kind of see how it goes. Bone Meringue is one of the strongest moves available to us, so that should help us quite a bit as we go through this, but we're just going to have to see if it actually works out. Now, of course, with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man, where I think Bone Meringue is just going to destroy him. Let's see how it actually goes. So against the first coughing, obviously Bone Meringue hits twice every time that it does hit, so it simply knocks him out within 1 turn at least, even though it's kind of slow because it is taking 2 hits each time to knock out these coughings. We are still getting the job done as we get to level 37 and he sends out another coughing against us. He finally sends out Wheezing. Bone Meringue still manages to knock it out in a single turn, so we get the easy victory and we're ready to move on in the game. Now we're carrying the move Headbutt specifically to help us with flying types like the rival's Golbat's coming up. We'll have to see what kind of ranges we get. We also have Focus Energy, so we can use that to get more critical hits, which could affect this fight against the rival. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. We're not super fast by any means. Only 64 speed means that a lot of the rival's team might outspeed me here. I might need a Quick Claw. I'm honestly not sure, but we're just going to have to test it and find out. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to go for Focus Energy on the first turn as we get confused by the Golbat. It doesn't have to go for the Confuse Ray on me, obviously, but eventually we do knock that Pokemon out. That brings out Meganium, which is in a speed tie with me. And of course, Razor Leaf destroys me when I only have 3 HP. We're going to have to try this one again. The big issue that we have here is it looks like we're not doing that much damage to Golbat with Headbutt. It's a 3-hit KO. And when you add add on the confusion on top of that, that actually could be a problem for us as we get destroyed on the next attempt. Strength and return do make some sense here if we're struggling. Here against Meganium, when we do hit a headbutt, we can also see this looks like a 4-hit KO on this Pokemon. We get poisoned this time before we get Razor Leaf, but eventually we do lose. We're just not dealing nearly enough damage. Now, this could be the spot where going for something like Fire Punch just simply makes sense, given that our special attack isn't that much weaker than our attack stat. Maybe this super effectiveness is enough to make it work. And who knows, we might have to go Fire Blast Thunder Punch here. I'm going to try throwing that move on over the top of Mud Slap. Since Mud Slap's not that strong, I think it's worthwhile to try this, but let's see if it can work out or not. So against the Golbat, I think we're still just stuck going for the headbutts here and hoping that we can deal enough damage. We do at least take that one down. Now on Meganium, let's see what Fire Punch does as it goes for Reflect. Fire Punch appears to be a 3-hitter. We do survive 1 Razor Leaf and we win 2 Speed Flips. So we actually get through that Pokemon this time. That brings out the Sneasel. Fire Punch is super effective, so I guess I'll go for that move as he goes Feint Attack. It's going to be a 2-hitter on this Pokemon, but we do take it down. That brings out Magnemite. We can go for the Bone Meringue here and just destroy it, and that brings out Haunter. It goes Shadow Ball, but I survive, and Bone Meringue does get the victory. So the Fire Punch there over the Mud Slap did put in enough work that I was able to eventually get victory. It's not pretty though. Makes me a little bit nervous for Clair because I'm not sure we're going to be fast enough even for Dragonairs. Remember, 2 of the Dragonairs and the Seadra have super effective moves against ground type, so our speed could be the issue there, and I'm not sure that even with a super effective move we'll be able to deal enough damage. Like, we can go Icy Wind or Blizzard. I guess we would have to go Blizzard at that point, and it again just might not turn out to be enough. For now though, we should be able to destroy all of these random rockets, so I'm just going to make my way through them, and then we'll worry about that after we get to Clair's gym and see what kind of ranges we're actually getting with Bone Meringue. It could be that Bone Meringue, as the same type move, is just strong enough that it's effectively the best move that we can use in that fight and gives us a chance against Clair, but we'll honestly just have to see. Now, fortunately, we can make it to Mr. Wannabe Giovanni with no issues here. Of course, Marowak always wants revenge on Team Rocket for Gen 1, so let's just see how this fight actually goes. Bone Meringue is probably strong enough to just 1-hit KO all of these Pokemon, but let's find out. Starting off with the Houndour, of course, we go for Bone Meringue and destroy it in a single hit. That brings out the Coughing. Bone Meringue is gonna 2-hit, but it's just 1 turn there. And that brings out the Houndoom. It goes Bite, but it's not enough. It didn't manage to flinch me, and we just destroy it with the Bone Meringue. So we get the easy victory right there. We're ready to move on to Clair's gym, where we might actually have to make some decisions. I'm hopeful that the Bone Meringue will be enough to at least get us through all of the randos without too much issue. And then we're just going to have to see what we get on Clair herself. If Bone Meringue can take down each of the Dragonairs in a single turn, and it just comes down to the final Kingdra, I think we have decent chances. But if we're not getting good ranges against those Dragonairs, we could be in really bad shape. This already has me super nervous for the Cubone when we get there because of the fact that that Pokemon's going to have like no speed. We're going to be like going for crazy Quick Claw luck, maybe some freeze luck in order to actually get through with that one, I think. Though if I recall correctly, I do think that the member pick Cubone is running with the Thick Club, which could help it massively in this section because that will power up its probably Earthquake, if I remember right, to be just completely OP in this section of the game, and maybe that's enough to get us the victory with enough resets and luck. Who knows? The real problem is going to be the Clair fight because of the fact that if we have Thick Club, we can't ever outspeed there. At least that's my guess. So we're probably getting wrecked without rare candies. Right now, though, we're going to stick with Ghosty Mama on her original moveset. Here we're missing the Bone Meringues, but once they do actually hit, we're just taking down these Dratini's just fine. So I think we're going to make it to the gym leader without any issues. We're just going to have to see how she actually goes. Now, at least on the trainer just before Clair, I actually went in without any Bone Meringue PP, but found that Headbutt was a 2-hit KO. That makes me think that Bone Meringue will get the 1-turn KO on the Dragonairs, but we're going to have to test this and see. We don't have any way to boost the power of our move because we can't get Soft Sand that's locked behind an optional battle. So this one could be kind of rough. We're just going to have to find out. Let's test it and see against Clair. So Clair attempt number 1, we go for Bone Meringue on the first Dragonair, and it just barely misses getting the 1-turn KO here. We get hit by Surf. We're going to have to headbutt this Pokemon down. We level up right here. Maybe that's enough for the second Dragonair to go down. It does. The third Dragonair only has electric type moves, which is why she's going for Kingdra here, I think. So we're going to go Bone Meringue. Surf hits first. We just barely survive. And without a critical hit, we're just dead. So I think that we're going to have to reset here. We're going to have to hope for a crit. And that's going to be our way through because we're just slower than this Pokemon. That being said, a Quick Claw could come in since we are already going to be immune to Thunder Wave. It's not like we ever have to worry about status. So maybe this is the way to go. Maybe it's Quick Claw strats on the Kingdra in order to try to get a victory. I am going to go for a Focus Energy as well, though, just to raise my critical hit chance, because that could help a lot in actually getting through these fights. We're just going to have to test and see. It turns out that the second Dragonair is a range, so it's not like it's just guaranteed that we get to this Pokemon and we can knock it out in a single turn. So that really affects things because it means now that without a Quick Claw plus a critical hit, we're not going to get through the Kingdra, at least not with this current setup. That actually opens up going for Headbutt for flinches on the first 2 Dragonairs, and then maybe going for a move like Icy Wind here, where you Icy Wind first on the Kingdra in order to make it slower, and then maybe you have a chance. So that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to forget Fire Punch to learn Icy Wind just for this fight. Let's see how this goes. So here against the first Dragonair, I'm going to switch my strategy to Headbutt first, going for a flinch. It's not the end of the world if we don't get it, but we definitely want to then get a flinch on the second Dragonair if we're going to have any decent chances. We do get the flinch this time, so we knock that one out. That brings us to Kingdra. We hit Icy Wind after the Quick Claw activates. That gives us the speed advantage. Surf takes me to 1 HP. I think I need a Headbutt flinch to have a chance here. We do get the flinch. Let's see what Bone Meringue does from here. It does get the KO. That gets us to the final Dragonair, but we only have 1 HP. We need Bone Meringue to knock it out in a single turn, and we get the critical hit that we needed. So 6 attempts to get through Clair. Icy Wind comes into play there by getting it so that you can outspeed against the Kingdra, giving yourself the chance to get the win. Still, we've finished that fight with 1 HP with our Ghosty Mama Marowak after 6 attempts. That is nuts. We'll take it, but yeah, you have to start manipulating a little bit if you're actually going to get that to go, because she is not easy. That range is not great. Ultimately, it's just barely enough to get through in the end. And with that, we now have to go take on the rival, and this is going to be another one of these fights that's just really tough. Now, I have to be honest, even if we get through the rival, I'm not sure how we're going to do against the league with this Pokemon because of our low speed. Quick Claw is basically always going to be required, and it just makes me think that Cubone might be dead on arrival. I'm honestly not sure. For now, though, we will make Clair give us her badge. The old guys are like, come on, he survived with 1 HP. That's legit enough for us. So we get the badge and we're ready to move on in the game. We've used one of our available ice type TMs. I think we're probably going to have to forget this move, but I'm going to try to stick with this move set against the rival just to see, since technically Icy Wind is super effective against Meganium and against the Golbat. Maybe it works out for us. I'm honestly not sure. The speed control, though, could be massive when you combine it with Headbutt. That's my logic for keeping the move, at least for now, but it could turn out to just not be enough against the rival, and then we're right back to the drawing board here, because this is not an easy fight by any means. The rival could actually be a wall. Still, we do have the level levels on him. So as long as we can manage to find a strategy against Meganium, I think we'll be able to get the victory, but we're just going to have to test and see. We can also get access to Earthquake right here, which has the advantage of effectively being the same power as using Bone Meringue, but it's more accurate. So there is a high likelihood that I will learn the move Earthquake right here, but I don't necessarily have to learn it immediately. I'm going to try as I am first, and then maybe if we see a situation where the accuracy is kind of affecting us, we can throw on the Earthquake. Let's just test this and find out. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, I'm going to go Focus Energy against the Sneasel as it just goes Feint Attack. That's not a big deal to me. And now I will go for the Bone Meringue as he screeches. We managed to take that one down. We've made it to the Meganium, and fortunately we are faster here. Now Icy Wind is the strongest move, at least in terms of power. I'm not sure how it actually works out in the end, but I'll try the Icy Wind just to see. It does look like a 3-hitter. He misses the Razor Leaf, and then he misses Poison Powder, so that's about the best range we could ever get on Meganium as we 3-hit KO it. Golbat comes out next. I'm going to go for the Headbutt here as it confuses me. We get a nice critical hit there, so we should 2-hit KO. Fortunately, we snap out of Confusion. That's going to bring out Kadabra. I'm going back to Bone Meringue as it goes Future Sight. Magneton, we missed the Bone Meringue. It just goes for Sonic Boom though, so we easily knock that one out. We can level up to learn Thrash at this point. I'm going to skip the move. I think there are better moves available to us, so we'll just go without that. As we get to the Haunter, we get hit by Future Sight. It hits Shadow Ball on me, but I survive, and the Bone Meringue gets the victory. So we actually beat the Rival on the first attempt, but that was because of kind of god tier luck against that Meganium. Like, yes, it went Poison Powder one of the turns, which also could have given us a chance in a normal fight, but missing a Razor Leaf is 5%, missing Poison Powder is 25%. You put those together, we're talking like, you know, a 1.25% chance of getting that level of luck on that Pokemon. That is just ridiculous. Like, I don't think I could sit here and reset for that luck all day, and yet we managed to get it on the first attempt. So Ghosty Mama probably doesn't deserve it, but it is here. It's ready to go into the league. It might get destroyed by Jinx in the next fight. I'm honestly not sure. We don't have any great moves to use in that next battle, so I'm just not confident in how this Pokemon's gonna go. I mean, do we have to go Fire Blast for the Jinx? I'm just honestly not sure, but we'll test everything in the next section. This is a Pokemon that might not get past Will though. I just have to be honest, or we might need crazy Quick Claw luck to get it to work. I'm just not sure. Still, this Pokemon does get through. I'm gonna check in on Steelix, and then assuming we get through with Steelix, it doesn't really matter. We've got the member pick with Cubone at the very end of this episode, and then we'll wrap up and look at what we've got coming next time. So it is Steelix time. We're coming in with Rollout, Screech, Dig, and Rage. I think we've got everything we need to get through the Rocket storyline with no issues. We're going to have to pray that Rollout strats are enough against basically everything else. Our level up learn set doesn't leave a lot to be super hopeful for. And while Rollout is not a same type move, I just think it might give us the best chances of actually progressing here. Iron Tail could also come into play since it is at least same type. And once we manage to get through Clair, we could go for Defense Curl and get the Defense Curl rollout running. So that could be a strategy, but that's going to require us to actually get through the gym. I'm just not sure how this is going to go. It kind of depends on how our type resistances stack up as we go through this one. First things first though, it's time to take on the Rockets, and they're going to be the super easy part since we're immune to poison and we're resistant to normal type moves. We should have a really easy time here. Sure enough, we make it super easily to the Marlboro Man, just one reset due to routing. That is it, and we're ready to take this guy on, where I think the strategy is simple. Just go for Dig. He can try to smoke screen, but we're just going to one-shot the Coughings with our stab move, especially given our high attack stat. Sure, these Pokemon are really defensive, but it shouldn't matter at the end of the day. Finally, he does send out Weezing. This is the only Pokemon I think might survive a hit, and we get a crit, so it still takes that one down in a single single turn. So we're able to get the super easy victory here. We're going to be ready to go take on the rival in the basement. That's where the rollout strats may really come into play. We're just going to have to see how it actually works out. Basically, my idea is going to be to lead off with the rollout though against the Golbat, hopefully building it up enough that once he sends out Feraligatr, which I'm assuming is his starter, that we'll be able to simply knock that Pokemon out in a single hit. And then hopefully, if we ever do miss the rollout or end the move, we can simply switch into Dig from there in order to get the victories. Let's just see how this actually goes. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm leading off with rollout against the first Golbat. We missed the first turn, we get confused the second turn, and this is going to be a 2-hitter on this Pokemon. We do manage to take it down. Feraligatr comes out next and goes Water Gun. We hit the rollout. It's going to be a 2-hitter here. Fortunately, in spite of the fact that we were confused, we landed all the hits. That brings out the Magnemite next, and rollout built up fully just knocks that Pokemon out. Sneasel's out next. I'm going to go for Dig right here as he tries to go Feint Attack. It's not going to do that much, I don't think. Sure enough, it doesn't, and we knock it out in 2 hits. And that brings out the Haunter. It goes Mean Look. Good job, Haunter. And that allows us to get the victory on the first attempt with no issues whatsoever. Even if he went Curse, though, we should have survived there and been able to knock it out in a single hit. So we get the victory, and we're ready to move on through the rest of these rando rockets. And sure enough, we managed to make it through to the Mr. Wannabe Giovanni at the end. We had one reset because I accidentally learned the move Slam over Dig while I was in the underground. Obviously, Slam is a trash move. We're never going to learn it. We have much better available normal type moves if we really want to go that route. But for now, I'm just going to keep my moveset as is as we get into Mr. Wannabe Giovanni. Let's see how he actually goes. Here for this fight against the Houndour, I'm just going to go Dig. We outspeed and we can just one-shot that Pokemon. That brings out the Houndoom, which is faster than me. It hits Ember, dealing a lot of damage, but we can Dig, and this is another one-hit KO because it's super effective and same type. And now we can just completely destroy the Coughing, which can't do anything to a Steelix. So we get a super easy victory and we're ready to move on in the game. But that might be the last easy fight that we have in this entire run, because we have to take on Clair and Rival number 5, who have pretty darn good teams with some pretty good moves for us. The Feraligatr fortunately doesn't have strong water type moves. It's one of the saddest things, honestly, when you get to Rival 5 and he's still using a move like Water Gun against you. We'll totally take it though, because that's probably going to be the saving grace of this Pokemon if I have to guess. If we had to go up against something with a stronger water type move, we might actually be in bad shape. But it does make me think if we can just manage to get through Clair, we should be all right. And it's not like Clair has any super strong moves other than the Surf on her Kingdra and her first Dragonair. We may be able to just cheese our way with the rollouts, though. Maybe with a Quick Claw, we are going to be slower than the Kingdra, but it could be a case where if we just have the Quick Claw on and we build up the rollout enough, we can get the one-hit KO after surviving 1 or 2 hits from that first Dragonair. We're just gonna have to see. It definitely is hard to feel too confident here though, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna take more than just 1 or 2 hits to knock out those Dragonairs, and our weakness could be an issue since we are going to be slower than everything there. We might even need 2 Quick Claw activations in order to get this to go. Still, it does look like we can at least get through the random Dratini's in here, so we should have at least a chance to get a victory. Let's find out. Now, at least against the Dragonair just before Clair, the 3rd hit of our rollout did not manage to get the one-hitter against the Dragonair on this team that's 1 level lower. That makes me really nervous going into this. We're just gonna have to see how it works out, but I'm not feeling confident. I'm going to throw on the Quick Claw. We might even have to think about going for Iron Tail here, since it is stab and is quite a bit stronger than a lot of our other moves. Like even Dig is only 60 power as opposed to Iron Tail being 100 power and being boosted by the mineral badge. So there is a chance that the Iron Tail is the way to go, since it's going to be effectively double the strength and way stronger than rollout until rollout builds up a bunch of turns. We might just forget Rage in order to learn Iron Tail. I'm going to test everything out here and see, but I'm going to try my moveset as it is first, just in case it actually works out. So Clair attempt number 1. Let's just see what rollout does here. We get Surf, which does over half with a crit, and it's pretty clear we would need to land like 3 hits on this first Dragonair. We do not get the range, so we lose that time. Let's try this again, hoping to not get a critical hit this time. This time we do manage to get through. We level up to level 44 as Kingler comes out, but we don't outspeed, so we don't get a hit the rollout, and we don't get to see the range. Still, it might work out, so I do have to test this a few times just to see. One thing is pretty clear. We need a Quick Claw activation on the first Dragonair and on the Kingdra if we're going to have any shot here, because otherwise we'll have no HP left when we get to the last 2 Pokemon, and we're going to be slower than them. So we are going to take hits. Even if they're not very effective hits, they're still going to be dealing damage to us. This time we do hit rollout on Kingdra, and we see that the 4th turn of rollout does not get the KO. So that already basically tells us that that strategy isn't going to work. So I'm going to try the Iron Tail since it is same type. So it's going to be a lot stronger than it normally would be. Plus the fact that we have the Quick Claw and it's going to be stronger than at least the first couple turns of rollout. I think this is the way to go. Let's just test this and find out if it works or not. So here I go Iron Tail on the first Dragonair, and that does 1 shot just immediately with the first hit, thanks to the same type attack bonus and the Quick Claw. So we're going to Kingdra on full health this time. Let's see what kind of damage we can do. Of course, Iron Tail is resisted here, but it still appears to be a 3-hit KO on this Pokemon. We can see she does massive damage with Surf though, so we just get 2-hit KO'd there. She went for the Smoke Screen against me, which did cause me to get a miss. So we might have won without that. We're just going to have to sit here and reset for a minute. Now, Dig is technically a little bit stronger here, so that could be the play. But really, I think we need like an Iron Tail critical hit and a Quick Claw activation. It could also be a spot to go for a Screech and then hope for the Quick Claw plus a crit, though that is asking for an awful lot of luck right there. This time she goes for Smoke Screen twice. We do hit 2 Iron Tails. She Smoke Screens a 3rd time even against me, but I managed to knock Kingdra out. I've made it to the 2nd Dragonair. It hits Dragon Breath. Of course, I'm missing because of the fact that I have so many Smoke Screens against me. Still, I knock it out eventually. I'm only on 8 HP. I think I need a Quick Claw, and I need to actually land the hit. Unfortunately, we don't get it, so we lose. That's the closest we've gotten on Clair so far, though, so I will take it. We're just going to have to keep resetting. That entirely relies on getting to the Kingdra on full health, though. She will only go for moves like Smoke Screen when she doesn't have the 1-hit KO against you. It is also worth remembering in that case that Smoke Screen can miss. It's not actually guaranteed to hit 100% of the time against the player. This time we get a Smoke Screen miss and a critical hit. She goes Surf after that. I'm going Dig here, and it doesn't quite get the range. Are you kidding me? We would need a Quick Claw. We did not get it, and she just Hyper Potions and knocks me out. So the crit doesn't put us in a great range. It doesn't guarantee that we get the win there. So I'm going to try to go for Screech when I actually manage to get through to the Kingdra on full health, hoping that it goes for the Smoke Screen against me. It didn't this time, so unfortunately we simply lose. We're going to have to try this one again. The advantage of going for that Screech is I think then a critical hit will one-shot, so it just at least gives us a chance if she starts Smoke Screening that we have a chance to get through. Otherwise, we're just really YOLOing here to try to get through this fight. We've obviously seen ourselves get to the final Dragonair once, but it is pretty darn luck-based to get that to go. This time she is Smoke Screening me, but I have managed to hit the Iron Tail and the Screech. She surfs there. I'm going for Dig. Unfortunately, she's able to heal. I would need another Quick Claw activation in order to win, and I just didn't get it that time. On attempt number 98, I managed to get Screech and an Iron Tail on her without getting my accuracy dropped yet. She hits Surf right there, though. If I do not get a Quick Claw activation, I will lose. She goes for the Hyper Potion. I miss the Iron Tail, and I simply lose right there. That was one of the best attempts that I've had at the Kingdra, so this is just rough. Eventually, what I'm going to have to do is drop rare candies here if nothing else works, because that's honestly the only way that I'm going to get a chance to actually get through this. because she just simply does way too much damage and I'm just way too slow. If I could at least guarantee that I outspeed against the first Dragonair, maybe get more attack, I might be able to deal enough damage eventually to get this like a 2-hit KO range naturally on the Kingdra, in which case, of course, I would be in great shape. Anything less than that, though, we're kind of struggling here. So at least for now, it doesn't seem to be working. I'm going to go back and try the rollout strat just a little bit more, just to see if maybe I got a bad range on the Kingdra when I got the Quick Claw activation. It's still going to be super luck-based to get through this, though. This time, I do get the KO on Kingdra, so at least with a high roll on the rollout, I can get the victory. That brings out the next Dragonair. We hit the rollout to knock that one out. We still have 40 HP going to the last Dragonair. I'm going to Iron Tail here. We get the Quick Claw, and that gets me the victory. But I'm pretty sure we would have survived against an Ice Beam or a Dragon Breath. So I think that's legitimate. I probably wasted too many turns trying with the Iron Tail strategy and Screeches and Quick Claws. Rollout is probably the correct play. I just wasn't sure what the range was the first time I actually managed to hit it on the Kingdra. It didn't deal enough damage. Turns out that it is a range there, though. That is nuts. And remember, this is a max DV's Steelix. Now, you could obviously pump a bunch of proteins into this Pokemon to try to help it out. At that point, I think you'd also want to pump in a bunch of Carbos to hopefully make this Pokemon fast enough to actually have a reasonable speed against those Dragonairs, but no matter how you look at it, you're just kind of in bad shape with this Pokemon. Fortunately, Iron Tail can one-shot against the Dragonairs when it hits, so that is your main strategy once you get through that Kingdra. Still, over 100 resets on that fight. People have asked me a lot in the past, like, why don't you track all the resets on the runs? And the honest-to-God answer is because I'm testing different strategies and trying different things, and sometimes I'll get locked in on one strategy for a long time because I think it's my only way through, but then I go back and I retest a strategy that just barely didn't get the victory before, and it turns out that it was enough and I just needed a higher damage roll. I don't know how good of a damage roll I need in that, so I can't say like, you know, we're 50-50 to win in that situation, or maybe it's 20% to win in that situation. I honestly don't know. Like, somebody can run a damage calc and tell me, but at the end of the day, we're just saying that this is a very marginal fight that is technically possible. And once you get through the Kingdra, as long as you have enough HP, you can definitely win against the last two Pokemon. They're not threats. At least as long as you've got like maybe 40-50 HP, you should be getting through those Pokemon with no issues. Still, we're just going to have to see how this goes moving on. I think there's going to be a point where Steelix gets hardwalled based on the fact that I did that Steel types only run earlier in the year, which was a heck of a lot of fun, but it did reveal to me just how bad the Steel type is in this generation. I get the feeling that at best, at the absolute best case, we're going to make it to Karen, and it's her Houndoom that's going to end us. Or maybe it will be the Charizard on Lance's team. I just see no way that we're actually going to survive beyond that, but maybe I'm wrong. Definitely, I would love to be proven wrong with this Max DV's Steelix. Maybe I figure something out or just get the right kind of luck at the right time that allows me to move on. But I'm not super confident in this Pokemon going forward. I'm just going to be perfectly honest about that. Now, we do get one massive advantage here as we get to the league with Steelix, though, and that is that we're about to get access to Earthquake, our strongest same type move, since it is 100% accurate on top of being 100 base power. Though we don't have any badge boost in the move yet. We won't get that till we actually manage to beat Blue later on in the run, if we do manage to beat Blue later on. But for now, we will take this. This is going to be one of our best moves. I think we just forget Dig in order to learn it, but I'm going to try to go without it first just to see if I actually need it. There could always be a situation in the league where I want to forget Dig for a different move and then relearn Earthquake later on. So we should just keep that in mind. For now, though, let's go ahead and get into this rival fight. So Rival 5 attempt number 1. I'm going to lead off with Rollout against the Sneasel. This is going to be a 2-hit KO. We get the KO nice and easy right there. That's going to bring out Feraligatr. It's going to take 2 hits, but Water Gun fortunately isn't that strong, and the Quick Claw activated, allowing us to knock that one out. Golbat comes out and confuses me. I hit myself in confusion. That's obviously not ideal. And now we're just getting a ton of bad luck with confusion damage against us. We still knock that Pokemon out. We can roll out on the Kadabra as it goes for the recover. Magneton comes out. We don't quite get the one-hitter here, and Future Sight ends me. We're going to have to try this one again. So round 2 against the Rival. This time, no Quick Claw activations, but also no confusion. So we just one-shot the Golbat there. That brings out the Kadabra. I'm going to go Dig right here as it goes for the Future Sight. We'll just simply knock it out after that. We get Shadow Ball from the Haunter. Future Sight fails as we're underground, so we just one-shot that Pokemon. And now against Magneton, Dig is the obvious solution, and we get the nice easy victory. So just like that, we managed to beat him on the next attempt, and we've made it to the league with our Steelix. We're just a couple levels away from getting access to Crunch, so if we get really desperate against Willy Boy, we may just go ahead and go all in on the rare candies, or at least go for part of them in order to get to Crunch so that we have the super effective move. So who knows, we may not need it with the rollout strats. Maybe Earthquake comes on the moveset and that helps us, but I think rollout is more likely to help us with the 2 Zatus and the Jinx. I don't think the Slowbro knows any water type moves, so I think that will help us a lot. Then assuming we get through Will, we should actually be pretty decent against Koga. We might struggle against Runo, and then I actually think that it's going to be Karen that ends us with the Houndoom. If not Karen, then it's very likely going to be Lancey Boy himself who ends us, because he's got Fire Blast on at least one of the Dragonites I know, and he's got the Charizard on the team with the Flamethrower. I just see no way we get through there. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Let's find out. For now, Steelix has made it to the league, but just barely, just by the skin of its teeth. You know, I've been grinding here for nearly an hour on this Pokemon, and that just tells you how borderline it truly is. But with that Pokemon done, we have made it to the last Pokemon of this episode. It is time for CuTip. Oh yeah, our Cubone is coming in with the Quick Claw, Bone Meringue, Blizzard, Dig, and Ancient Power. Ancient Power could be huge if we can get Ancient Power activations at the right moments. A Quick Claw with Blizzard Freeze could also be our saving grace. We're going to have to test this a lot to see, and I say that Thick Club is legal here if we turn out to need it. For now, of course, we're going to go through the Rocket storyline. I don't expect too much issue here, other than the fact that we're just really slow. We're just going to have to hope this actually works out for CuTip. Dr. Mystic, I know, is really rooting for this Pokemon to the point that Dr. Mystic is supporting the same Pokemon in other generations. Son of CuTip in Gen 3 over on RSE Pokemon challenges. So yeah, we're just gonna have to see if this Pokemon can make it work. Otherwise, we might be going back to the drawing board looking for anything that could possibly give us a chance. For now though, the Bone Meringue is super OP against these Rockets. I think it's gonna get us through this section. Let's make our way to the Marlboro Man. Sure enough, with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man at the top of the tower. I think that Bone Meringue will be enough for all these Pokemon, but let's find out. So against the first Coughing, Bone Meringue gets a 1-turn KO. That tells me that we probably got this in the bag. He actually sends out Wheezing second, funny enough. This is going to be a 2-hitter, but we are going to manage to get the victory. I'm just going to Dig to finish it off. And after that, as long as Bone Meringue hits, we shouldn't have any issues with any of the rest of these Coughings. So we're going to get through this nice and easy. We could learn Thrash via level up. I'm going to skip this move. I don't think we need it. And instead, we're just going to make our way down to Rival number 4 with this super easy victory on the Marlboro Man. We just once again put him out in the dirt. There's not a lot that he can do against even a little Cubone. Now, I'm actually kind of surprised that we never ran with Swords Dance on this Pokemon as a member pick. If I get really desperate, I may throw on Swords Dance over like Dig or something as my strategy to try to move on, since this is a member pick Pokemon. But for now, we've just got to try to get through the Rival, where maybe the Omni Boost is the way to go against this first Golbat. Just sitting here spamming with the Ancient Power. Let's find out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, he goes Confuse Ray with Golbat. I'm going Ancient Power. It's going to be a 2-hitter, no Omni boost, at least in this one. So unfortunately, it looks like we're going to be in kind of bad shape. We do manage to knock that Pokemon out, but it even took 3 hits. And after that, I think we can only hope for a Quick Claw with Blizzard Freeze to get through the Meganium. Let's try this one again. So next attempt, we're back to using Ancient Power, but still no Omni boosts here. So we're back to the Meganium. We get the Quick Claw, but miss the Blizzard, so we simply lose. This time we actually managed to knock out Meganium with the Blizzard because we're not one-shot by a non-critical hit Razor Leaf. So we get to level 38 right here as Sneasel comes out. We're going to go back to Ancient Power here. It didn't do that much, but then we got the Omni boost here. We get a second Omni boost, and now we knocked that Pokemon out. It only survived 2 hits because of the Reflect that was up. That brings out the Haunter. We're faster thanks to the Omni boost, so we knocked that Pokemon out. And now against Magnemite, we one-shot. So when you get 2 Omni boosts, you are able to get the victory with the Cubone. And that's basically our best strategy, I think, is to just YOLO and hope that we get the Omni boosts plus the Quick Claws when we need them. But it is enough in the end. And with that, we shouldn't struggle against the rest of these randos. So we're going to make our way straight to the final Executive at the end and just see if we can manage to beat him nice and easy. So now we do have the chance to learn Bone Rush, which I think I'm going to skip. I think we're just going to be better off getting to Earthquake later on. Definitely tell me if you think that's wrong, but I think I'm just going to keep my moveset as is for now. If I forget anything, I'll forget Dig, but I'm going to wait to see if there's actually an advantage to doing so. And with no further issues, we do make it to the final Rocket Executive here. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm fully healed up, and we're going to get into this fight where Dr. Mystic is probably going to completely destroy him, given that we have Bone Meringue. Let's find out. First up, we've got the Houndour out. We're actually faster than this Pokemon, and we destroy it with Bone Meringue. That brings out Coughing, which also gets one-shot, and we've made it to the final Houndoom. Basically going to go Feint Attack or Ember here, and we get the Quick Claw activation, so we still just knock it out in a single turn with no damage taken. Mr. Wannabe Giovanni never stood a chance, but now we have to go to what is going to be an absolutely brutal fight. We have to take on Clair. Our one advantage that we have is that we're getting pretty close to being in a speed tie with those Dragonairs, maybe with another level or 2, depending on how much we gain from the randos, we'll be able to actually speed tie there and at least have a chance. The other advantage that we have, of course, is that if we can get an Omni boost with Ancient Power, we might just then be strong enough to sweep. So I'm going to test this quite a bit and see. We'll start off with just an all-out attack strat, then we may switch into trying to fish for an Omni boost on the first Dragonair as a way to defeat Kingdra, since Kingdra will be faster than me no matter what I do, but maybe with the boosts it will be enough. We'll just have to find out. It could even be a situation where we're hoping again not be in a one-hit KO range and get some sort of survivability while she just uses Smokescreen against me, and I might even just be going for a freeze or something. We'll just have to see. So here we're just a little short of a level up, and we're 1 point in speed slower than the Dragonairs. This could be a spot that justifies dropping a rare candy just for speed. We'll think about that if we're struggling really hard here, but for now I think we go in with Quick Claw. I think we try to get something like the activation of the Omni boost as a way to possibly get through. This is going to be tough, but let's just test it and see. So Clair attempt number 1, I'm going to go for Blizzard on the Dragonair first since it is super effective. Surf does nearly half to me. Still, Blizzard is enough to one-shot there. We level up. We're in a speed tie now with Dragonairs. Of course, we have to miss after that, and we get wrecked on the first attempt. So let's try this again. It also turns out Blizzard is a range here, so we're going to need a bit more luck than that. So I'm going to go for Ancient Power first, trying to get an Omni boost. We actually get it this time, but we get knocked out at that point. We just didn't get it first couple turns. I think we want a turn 1 Omni boost if we're going to get through this one. It's definitely luck based, but it is something that can happen. And if we get that, then we'll be faster than the Dragonairs for sure. And we might even be faster than the Kingdra, giving us the advantage. So this time I get the Omni boost only to miss Blizzard the next turn. Still, I managed to knock out the first Dragonair. We level up. Second Dragonair, we're faster and we one-shot. That's going to bring out the Kingdra, and I think the only way we win here is with the freeze. We do not get it, and we get wrecked. We can see we did about 40% there with our Blizzard. I think technically Bonemerang is stronger here for us. It just doesn't have the chance to freeze, which is why I had to go for the Blizzard. It's unfortunate, but we're going to have to reset on this one. Few attempts later, we're back to the Kingdra. I'm going to see what Bonemerang does with my attack boost here, just because I want to see. We get a critical hit 2 turns in a row with Bonemerang to knock that Pokemon out. That brings out the final Dragonair. If we hit Blizzard, we win, and we hit. So we actually get through in 24 attempts there. That is way fewer than the Steelix just before this. So CuTip, little Cubone, better than Steelix. Proven. It's 100% legitimate that a Cubone is just miles away better than Steelix could ever hope to be in Gen 2 on minimum battles. You heard it right here. At least once you give this Pokemon Blizzard, it's kind of OP. Though, you know, the ancient power is kind of important, so just take that for what you will. Still, hey, I'm just gonna call this a victory. We're ready to move on to the Rival 5 fight, and if we can manage to get through that, we might just be golden. Keep in mind that while we're slow, we do have access to the Quick Claw, and we do have a really wide move pool that should, in theory, give us some opportunities as we go through this one. We do, of course, have to get through Rival 5 first, though, so I'm just going to tell these old guys how amazing this little Cubone is, that it beat Clair 4 times faster than his Steelix. They're going to say, cool story, bro. Wait, I didn't quite catch that. Tell me that again. And yeah, they're going to force her to give us that gym badge. She's going to go tell Lancey Boy that he better watch out for that Quick Claw, because we're coming with Blizzard and maybe like Thunder Punch in order to take on his team. And he might not actually be able to stand up to a little Cubone. We're just going to have to find out. Granted, we're going to have to get through a bunch of Elite Four members before that, though. So we can't just say that we're going to beat Lancey Boy just yet, but we're going to give it the best possible chances with this member pick Cubone here, because Dr. Mystic 314 has been supporting for an awful long time. Like I said, on multiple channels for me. I can't thank you enough for that level of support. It really does mean a lot. And yeah, I love seeing little Cubone get a little bit of get back for the fact that Game Freak gave him no moveset at the start of the game. So before I go and take on Rival number 5, of course, I will do just the basic housekeeping of getting access to Earthquake, since it is a same type move and could be an upgrade just due to accuracy. But who knows? I mean, you know, the double crit Bonemerang is kind of OP. Not gonna lie, I'll definitely take that luck any day of the week. For now, though, let's just see if it's enough for Rival number 5. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, I'm going to go for the Omni Boost on Sneasel. We do not get it, so unfortunately we're just going to have to knock this Pokemon out. Feint Attack and Fury Cutter didn't do that much though, so we get a move on to Meganium. It goes Poison Powder on me. I hit the Blizzard. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. He misses a Razor Leaf, but then he hits Razor Leaf after that and ends me. We're going to have to try this one again. If we can get an Omni Boost though, we're going to be just amazingly powerful here. So we're just going to have to reset for that level of luck, perhaps. Here we get the Quick Claw activation, and Blizzard freezes Meganium though, so that allows us to get through that Pokemon on green health. Golbat's out next. I'm going back to Ancient Power. We do about half. We get confused after that, and we're gonna have to try to knock this one out. We do actually take it down though. Kadabra's out next. I'm switching to Bonemerang since it's same type. We get the 1-turn KO. Haunter is out after that. It curses me. I hit myself in confusion and take curse damage and then get Shadow Balled, but I do knock it out eventually. That brings out the Magneton. We hit the Bonemerang, and just like that, CuTip is getting through to the Pokemon League. It's taken about 30 minutes to get to this point with this Pokemon, but really not that bad. It's kind of on par with some of the ghosts earlier when I was doing some kind of like, you know, cheesy curse nightmare strats, which, you know, given such a weak Pokemon is really not that bad. And as we go into this, I think there's a lot of spots where I'm going to be like, we need an Omni Boost. That's our win condition. And we'll just have to see if that works out for us or not. It could be a situation where eventually we don't even want the Quick Claw. We just want something like a Thick Club plus the Omni Boost. Keeping in mind, this is a member pick Pokemon, so Thick Club is on the table for this one. That could be be the solution that allows it to get through in spite of the fact that it has like terrible stats overall outside of defense. We'll just see, but for now, Cubone, it moves on. CuTip proves to be a legend. Let me just give a massive thank you to Dr. Mystic 314 for supporting already for 7 months, bringing this Cubone all the way to the present point, and we're ready to get into the league in the next episode. With that, we're done with all of the Pokemon for this episode, so let me just give a massive thank you to Dr. Mystic 314 one more time, and let's check what we've got coming next time. So with that done, that is another episode in the books. Every single Pokemon does manage to get through. Once again, we didn't really use broken OPTMs, which I mean at this point is basically going max friendship return or going for the hidden power dark, but I mean it's basically hidden power dark at this point. Everything else is getting to be pretty legit. Still, I was pretty surprised that CuTip got through as easily as it did. So hey, we'll just take that. I want to give a massive thank you to all of the channel members who have been supporting and everybody who's been kind of waiting patiently while I've been getting back to the grind of making content. I was in the United States for a couple months, which is really great for me personally. It was the first time in about 10 years I've been able to spend that much time with my family, introduce them, let them really spend time with my baby boy, which was amazing. And it's only because of folks like you who support me that I was able to do that. I intended to do a lot more content. PC wasn't working with me. It just is what it is. But I'm back home, back to the grind, only to get a little sick. But you can kind of forgive my nasally sound and occasionally coughing in the middle of the video. I'm gonna have to cut all that out, but we are back. We're gonna be making a ton more of these. I know a lot of people have been itching for more of the Minimum Battles series. It is coming, trust me. With that being said, we've got 10 challengers coming next time. We're gonna be coming back with all the Hitmons. Lickitung is gonna be getting in on the action, as well as Kangaskhan. Then we've got a bunch of water types with Seadra. I needed to get Kingdra in here, so there, let me get that fixed. But we will have Seadra, Kingdra, Seaking, Starmie, Quillfish, and then I needed a member pick, and there's nothing really close in the Pokedex to the Pokemon that we're currently running here, so I decided to jump ahead and grab that Kabutops. I'm saving the bug types for a later episode where we're gonna get Scyther in. That's where I think it's good to get all of these other bug types in that we've got up there in the member picks. There will be a member pick heavy episode coming up soon, but for this one, just one member pick, 10 legit challengers. Definitely drop your own predictions down below, but I'm going to make my early predictions that I think everything basically gets through this section. It's just a matter of how easy or difficult it is for them, and it's going to be very interesting to see Kingdra actually being in a situation to underperform its unevolved form because of the fact that it's going to have a weakness to Dragon. And given that the Seadra line doesn't really get great moves for a lot of the threats in this section, like they just don't have a wide move pool, it could turn out to be a fairly tough Pokemon. We'll just have to see. I think that everything else pretty much bruises though. I think that Starmie is going to be amazing. Seaking is starting to look pretty interesting at this point. Lickitung is slow, but it shouldn't really affect things too much. Kabutops might be the most interesting Pokemon of this entire set. Still, just place your own predictions as usual. That will do it for another episode. I will see you in the next one. Later.